Time.
Yeah,
Good morning.
Mike,
Good morning.
Mike.
Are we ready? Oh, hello. Good morning. Welcome to the Mike Graham Show. I'm Mike Graham, and I'm wearing a hat. I found it in the toilet. Normally, when you find things in the toilet, you shouldn't probably take them, should you?
No.
But Pooch said it was all right if I wore it. Do you think I should keep it on for the whole show?
Looks good, mate.
That could be a poll. You know what? We haven't got a poll, we've literally, favourite type of hat.
Black cap.
We've literally exhausted our creative juices this week because we've been so brilliant, and we can't think of a poll. So if you can think of one, you could get your poll out, if you like.
No, get your poll out.
Get your poll out,
Get your hat out.
and we will possibly use it for our own purposes. I'm delighted to say Lee Harris is here with us. Lee, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Nice
Love
to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Yeah, it's one of those things, when you find things and you think, I quite like that, but then you think, it's probably somebody's left it there, so I'll have to put it back.
Did you genuinely find it in the toilet?
It was literally, it was in the disabled toilet, where it's where I go to put my makeup on, and it was just hanging there. Somebody's obviously taken it off to do whatever they did.
The lady I saw in the hallway a minute ago.
No, I don't think she wears a hat. She's a cleaner. She's from South America. I don't think she wears this kind of hat. This is like Anne Widdecombe's hat that she wore the other day.
It looks very dashing.
It's very much a sort of Royal Ascot type hat, isn't it?
Well, it belongs to a disabled person, obviously.
Yeah, somebody with only one head. Anyway, I'm going to take this off now because I don't think people take me seriously if I'm wearing a hat. No. Isn't that funny? Do you think that if you're wearing a hat,
it is a female hat. It's a lady's hat.
It's definitely a lady's hat.
Yeah,
and I'm a lady, and I wear a lady's hat. And does it help you identify as a lady? Does it make me softer? Does it make me more kind of well-rounded? Does it make me more interesting?
I'm not going to lie, Mike. Put me on edge.
Did it?
Yeah, a little bit.
You quite liked it, didn't you? He's already had an encounter with some of the guys from around here.
I have.
One of whom was wearing a dress, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, very lovely.
Who'd obviously been out all night on the Raz. Anyway, listen, very good morning to you. Welcome to Friday, Freaky Friday, whatever you want to call it. Lots of different stories on the front pages. Obviously some serious ones that we need to talk about, Lee, including, of course, the front page. Finally, I don't know why it's taken, you and I spoke about this the other morning, I don't know why it's taken so long for what you might call the sort of mainstream media to catch up with this terrible story about the young man who was murdered, Henry Nowak.
Or Nowak.
Who was treated as a racist when he was literally bleeding to death. And the front page of the Mail's got the piece which says, police treated innocent stab victim Henry as a racist, then handcuffed him as he lay dying. And a picture of the killer, who's a Sikh, as it turns out, and inside, coward and liar, who cried racism as his victim lay dying in his own blood. But the thing that strikes most people as odd about this whole story is that the police were taken in at a murder scene or at a scene of serious violence by a character who, because he was brown, effectively, let's not be about the bush, somehow managed to convince the police that he was in the right, even though he'd stabbed the guy to what turns out to be death.
Yeah, I couldn't quite grasp how they could come up with an excuse like that. Let me just read this out to you, because this is a post that was put out on X by Hampshire Police yesterday, responding to someone actually that had a very legitimate complaint. In fact, I'll read what the guy said.
Yeah, go on.
They said, why did the officers immediately place him in handcuffs? There was no evidence of any racism against the murderer because there was never any racism committed by Henry. So why did the police handcuff him? I won't read the rest. Hampshire Police responded I was genuinely quite surprised they responded, and they said, our officers were misled at the scene, including the denial of weapon use. They quickly switched to life-saving aid within minutes, but as laid out in our statement, the medical evidence shows that the injuries were not survivable. I just think that's an appalling statement for two reasons. First off, that second sentence about, oh, it's okay, he was going to die anyway. Yeah. That I find utterly repulsive.
Yes.
And probably the most frustrating bit about that is the first sentence where they say our officers were misled at the scene. Like, oh my gosh, someone may consider lying to the police. Right. A murderer potentially will lie to the police.
Not just a murderer, but somebody who has committed, literally within the last 10 minutes,
I tell you what they're doing, Mike.
An act of violence which has caused somebody to have their life in threat, effectively.
Yeah. There is no doubt about this. What they are doing is they are PR managing an utterly disgraceful event, which the police are absolutely responsible for, in my view. Of course, the murderer is responsible for the murder, but the disgraceful behaviour by the police is inexcusable, and that's what they're trying to do right now. They're trying to just play PR and cover this up.
Yeah.
I've never heard so much nonsense in my life.
Right.
Police get lied to all the time, I'm pretty sure. They jump to a conclusion, because he was white and the guy was a Sikh, that this must be racism. Whatever this kid says must be a lie.
Right.
So they handcuffed him and he died in handcuffs. I think it's disgusting.
And as the Mail headline says, his victim lay dying in his own blood. Oh. It's just extraordinary. Because, again, we've got this kind of culture now, haven't we, where the first assumption that they make, if they are police or if they are council workers or if they are politicians or if they are, ambulance drivers or whatever it is, their first assumption is the white guy must have done something bad.
Yeah.
The brown guy must have done something good. I mean, it's just pathetic, isn't it?
It's years and years of institutional woke DEI Britain-hating nonsense completely infesting like the police and our other institutions. But what I cannot get out of my head about this whole thing is those last few moments that he must have had, seeing the police, thinking possibly that he was safer now. The police
because
had
the police have come to arrest the guy, to save my life and to make my experience slightly better.
Yeah.
In fact, they made it worse.
They absolutely did make it worse, because in those final moments, even if they couldn't save his life, which we'll never know, right? But even if they couldn't, let's just say they couldn't save his life, they could have at least comforted him. Yeah. In his final moments, he was looking at the police in authority, and one of them even said to him that, "I don't think you've been stabbed, mate." I've had those words running around my head for the last 24, 48 hours.
That's extraordinary, isn't it?
So he immediately found out that the police didn't believe that he was dying.
Yes.
And probably his body gave up at that point. Because
and haven't they
the
also
fight would
said
have given
something
in.
strange about the fact that the depth of the wound was such that they wouldn't have noticed that it was bleeding?
There is some truth to that, right?
Is there?
But the reason I disagree with it is because that wasn't his only wound, right? If his only wound was concealed under his clothing, there is some truth to the fact that the bulk of the bleeding will happen inside of the body. Sorry, it's very early for this.
Yeah.
And it's unlikely or less likely that there'll be lots of blood externally, right? However, he'd been stabbed in the face. There was other injuries around him, and they still just didn't believe him. I can't imagine being in that situation and the police just not believing you.
No, it's just extraordinary. And as I say, the thing that I find quite disturbing as well is the amount of time it's taken for the story to have been properly reported. I mean, you and I spoke about it, as I said earlier this week. You've been talking about it.
You've covered it.
And we've covered it, and what you'd have to say, mainstream media hasn't covered it.
No.
They've just not been interested.
No, and there's a reason, because it doesn't fit the narrative.
Which is also, in its way, shocking, isn't it?
It's shocking. We kind of all know it's like this, especially if you're in the media like we are. We know that there's an underlying current of this.
Yeah.
But when it shows its face like this, in the worst possible way, I mean, it's not like someone was sacked because of a false allegation of racism.
Yeah.
A boy died.
Yeah.
Because of, in my view, obviously because of the murderer, but it was shimmied along by the police who are institutional.
It's not a stretch to say it could have been a racist murder, except it's in the wrong direction for the mainstream media to go, oh, hang on, that's not racism because he's brown and he did the stabbing, so that can't be racist. Well, it can actually, And we've got a couple of notes here coming in saying from people there's literally no mention of this on mainstream media this morning. BBC not touching it, GB News not mentioning it.
GB News have mentioned it because I was listening to them on the way in. Yeah,
Sky not mentioning it. It's a very strange world that we now live in where journalists are sort of driven not to mention stories that they don't think fit the narrative that they want to put out there.
It's because he's white. Let's just say it. It's because he's white.
I really struggle with that because I say to myself, I've been doing this a long time, and a story is a story to me.
Yeah,
I don't have an agenda. I don't push this particular story more than any others. I don't stop pushing stories. I don't not mention stories because they don't fit my sort of view of the world. I just do the stories, and I don't understand anybody who doesn't do that. And it seems as though there's an awful lot of organisations who don't operate that way.
Completely agree. And let's just be honest, right? Everybody knows this is true. If Henry had brown skin, there would have been immediately high-level resignations.
Yeah.
There would be nationwide protests. There would be a statement from the Prime
God,
Minister.
yeah.
I mean, when George Floyd died,
Who was an American, let's face it.
Thousands of miles away, within 15 days, apparently, I read this, Keir Starmer had taken the knee.
Yeah.
Right? Within 15 days. I think it's been over 200 days now since Henry was murdered. He's not said anything.
Yeah.
He's not said anything. I despise him. I
think we all do. I think we've now reached sort of peak Starmer at this point.
Because you can disagree with someone's politics, can't you? But but if he comes out and says something, then you can have a little bit of respect for him.
Yeah.
But he's literally said nothing. Yeah. I mean, it's absolutely disgusting. And it's not just him. Like you said, it's the whole media industry. They're all burying this because it's uncomfortable for them to talk about. But if it was the other way around...
But again, why is it uncomfortable? You know, there's nothing wrong with saying that this scumbag attacker, whose name is Vikram Digwar, 23 years of age, what's wrong with demonising him? He's a murderer.
Yeah.
He's a killer. He's a horrible scumbag. You know, I don't care whether he's brown or black or white or yellow. I don't give a damn what colour he is. But the fact is that he's a killer. He should be going to prison for a long time. Hopefully he is going to prison for a long time. And I mean, the Sun have got it on page 17, so they've got 15 more stories more important.
You've worked in the media for a long time. Yeah. Do you think that these media companies, because it's crossed my mind, are very similar to how it happened with the rape gangs?
Yeah.
In as much as that they don't want to write the story in the wrong way and be accused of racism by the public.
Well, listen, if I had been at the Sun, for example, yesterday, you have what's called a conference in the afternoon, where you sit with the editor and the sort of team of departmental editors, say the sports editor, the features editor, the news editor, and you sit there and you discuss where you're going to put all the stories.
Right.
And there's a guy called the night editor, which is a job I used to do, and you kind of take the stories and decide which is more important. And I would have been saying, I think you should put at least a single column on the front on this story, right? That's what I would have said. And the editor, if they were, shall we say, a bit lily-livered, would go, oh, just stick it somewhere in the back. Stick it somewhere further back.
Would they even care about backlash? That's what I'm wondering, though.
Because the thing about newspapers is that when I was working for them, when they were kind of more important than they are now, your view was that we'll tell you what the news is, right? We will tell you what you should care about, and that's kind of the mantra that you would live by. And so, if somebody said to me, this story where the guy has been sentenced to time in prison has only got to page 17, that's not important enough. It should be a single column off the front. I can understand if they say, look, they've got a World Cup scam story on the front because the World Cup's coming up and it's a bit sexy and all of that. But you certainly would put. I mean, why are they not doing it on 4 and 5?
Totally.
Why are they not doing a spread on what happened?
Especially the similarities as well.
But they've obviously said kick it further back in the paper.
That is a deliberate choice, and they've
the fact that the Times have done with it.
The fact that he said, I don't think I mentioned it on the front page.
Nothing on the front page.
The fact that he said, I can't breathe, there are similarities there with George Floyd.
Yes.
If he had been black, or as I said, with brown skin, you've got the similarities, you've got the fact that he had brown skin, it would be front page news for weeks. It wouldn't just be front page news for a day.
Yeah.
They'd be running it. You'd you'd have national protests. Keir Starmer would have already done a statement. It's because he's white.
Yeah. So Times have done the same, page 13. Sort of buried it away. And I know it's not buried away, but it's a page, what we call a page lead.
Yeah.
But as far as they're concerned, there are 11 pages in front of that, which are more important stories than this.
I don't get it, Mike.
It's just ridiculous, isn't it?
Because this is, to be honest, this is an awful story of murder, but it's also a massive story about the police. And we've had a big problem in this country with the police for a very long time. Yeah. And this is, I think the police, they need to release the body cam footage. I don't want to take the police's word for it because it's very clear to me from their messaging they are trying to cover this up.
Yeah.
Release the body cam footage. Let us decide by looking at it, effectively impartially.
Yeah.
Let's see it from start to finish.
Because that's the world we now live in. We can judge because we can see the same stuff that you can see.
Yeah, and I guarantee you, if they don't release it, it will be because they did something utterly awful.
Yes.
If we all saw it, there'd be riots.
Yes.
Or that's what they would say anyway.
Yeah.
I don't like the fact that
let's actually admit that there will be riots because people are angry about the way that this boy was treated and that the way the story's been treated ever since it happened. Instead of holding their hands up and saying, we made a mistake. I mean, I've seen nothing really. You've read out that statement from the police.
Yeah.
But I've seen nothing from the police to suggest that they've understood that they got it wrong.
No. The statement they did yesterday to the cameras was, again, very similar, you know, in as much as they focused on the fact that they were misled when they got there. I just find it really weak, and the fact that he would have died from his wounds anyway.
Also, are we not now living in this weird world where people are saying, we were misled. You know, we saw it with Keir Starmer and Peter Mandelson. You know, I was misled. He lied to me. You know, I asked him if he was a bad guy, and he said he wasn't. So I went, okay then. You know, what sort of, critical faculties does this guy have? Same story with Nicola Sturgeon. You know, John Swinney, the First Minister of Scotland, saying the other day, well, I don't think this reflects badly on the SNP because, of course, we were misled by this man, who collected all this money on behalf of the voters and the supporters of our party, and then he went and spent it on a bunch of pens and, a motorhome. And you're kind of going, have you got any critical faculty whatsoever to go, actually? I mean, if you came in here dripping with blood and, to do a show, I'd go, have you just murdered someone?
Yeah.
Are you okay?
Yeah.
And you might then give me I'd go, well, Lee, the thing about Lee Harris is that he just lied to me. He didn't tell me he murdered anyone, so I didn't know he murdered anyone. So we just carried on with the show. It's bloody ridiculous.
Isn't it? It's an ingrained lack of personal responsibility. Yeah. And that it is awful that has been allowed all of a sudden to become an excuse for bad performance.
Yeah.
But for me, the police have to they have to do more than apologise. They should be the chief constable of Hampshire Police should resign, if not be sacked.
Yeah.
They should treat this as if it was the other way around.
Yeah.
View the case.
It's a massive error on their part.
Massive.
Huge.
And it's morally repugnant.
Yeah.
And maybe they won't release the footage because if we see something that we don't want to see, then it will be really bad.
But you're right, we should be fighting to see
We
that.
absolutely
And I'm
should.
just looking at Keir Starmer's Twitter page, just because you reminded me to do so, and it is, quite frankly, sickening, because there's nothing there.
He's mentioned Blair.
Yeah, he's mentioned most of it is Happy Eid Mubarak to loads of people, right, from 2 days ago. Then he's done a picture of him shaking hands with Donald Tusk, signed a defence treaty with Donald Tusk to strengthen our shared security and capabilities. This is the biggest step forward in our defence and security relationship with Poland. Don't care. Then he's retweeted something from the FSA, which is, of course, the Football Supporters Association, because you know how he's trying to get a free pass to watch the Champions League final, because Arsenal are in it. I mean, it's like, is that the most important thing you can think of doing, you complete wanker? And then, sorry about this, Pooch, and then Tony Blair might not like my plan, but he's wrong, it's changing Britain for the better. Yeah. Well,
that's him on the sofa. Isn't it?
So that's it, yeah. That's your lot from Keir Starmer. It's just, I don't know what to say. And I'm happy that we're talking about Keir Starmer, because for the whole of this week, the troubling thing for me is that the focus has all been on Makerfield, and it's all been on Andy Burnham and reform versus restore and all of that. And the focus has kind of moved away from Downing Street, where the incumbent is still sitting there, still being useless, still doing nothing, still not actually providing any kind of answers to the trouble that we're all in, economically, socially, culturally. The fact that Britain is a more divided country now than it's ever been. This twat, sorry.
Right.
I'm just angry about it this morning.
Yeah, I think so.
Is literally doing nothing other than, batting away all the criticism and just, I'll just continue sitting here and I'll just keep doing my job because nobody else can do it as I can do. And it's like, just get out.
Yeah. He's a lame duck Prime Minister.
And I prefer Camilla Tominey's version of that, which is a dead duck. He's not a lame duck, he's a dead duck.
Yeah, totally.
He's literally just dead.
I don't know what's
from the neck up.
Because even if you look at this from a cynical point of view and you put yourself in Keir Starmer's shoes, this would have been a relatively easy win.
Yeah.
Right? From a completely PR point of view. For him to mention this, for him to talk about Henry in that way, a lot of us would have sat back and gone, do you know what? You're still a wanker, but fair play.
Yeah, right.
Fair play for at least mentioning it and treating it with the same weight that you treated George Floyd. Yeah. Because, like say, the guys...
Yeah, why are you taking a knee for a bloke from Minneapolis who's black, that you've never met, that you've never had any encountering with, and who represents nothing more than a drug-taking, rapist, ghastly, horrible criminal,
Totally.
and you're taking the knee for this guy.
Yeah.
Really?
It's virtue.
Really?
He would rather virtue signal to his base about something like that than he would mention something that I think is infinitely more important, and that's Henry Nowak.
And Angela Rayner was on her knees as well, wasn't she?
Yeah,
Not
him
for the
and
first
Rayner.
time.
In fact, the whole Labour Party were. They did multiple photographs.
Sorry, I didn't want to bring that particular image to you. Let's have a look, though, because we've got some clips to play this morning with Lee. First one, number 3, Keir Starmer agreeing with Tony Blair.
1 second.
What does it say about your premiership that Labour's most successful leader, Tony Blair, says you don't have a plan?
Well, let me start with where I agree with Tony Blair. I agree with him that we should be having a discussion about policy and ideas, and that's what generates politics. That's where the focus should be. So Tony is right about that. You won't be surprised to know that I don't agree with much of what Tony says about what the government is doing. We can all argue about individual policies, but the real question is, what's the change, what's the difference that is happening in a country that we inherited 2 years ago in a very poor place? We put the policy in place to stabilise the economy and make sure that it grew so wealth was created in every part of the country. Because of our policy choices, that is happening. And you see that in the figures that were out this year, in recent months in particular. We took policy choices that we needed better public services. They were on their knees when we inherited them. We took policy choices that we would invest in those public services, that we would introduce new technologies, particularly in the NHS. As a result, waiting lists are coming down, with the biggest drop for 17 years actually recorded just 2 weeks ago. So with the right policy choices there, we also had to address the question of how do we get migration down without affecting economic growth, which is a difficult balance. Again, we took our policy choices, and you're seeing the growth figures are up, the migration figures are down, which tells you the change that we brought about in 2 short years. And then on the sort of international stage, which is obviously hugely important at such a volatile time, we have in 2 short years rebuilt our relationship with...
I don't want to hear any more of it. It's so annoying. I'm literally getting more wound up now watching him. Because he's such... And he's doing that thing now. He's going, hey, 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 and he's just smiley, because somebody told him to smile, because that way people will like you more. No, we don't like you anymore. We still think you're a total and utter tosser, right? Useless, hopeless... Just go.
There's a lot of people on the right that will say to me, yeah, but you want to get rid of Starmer, but it's not going to be any better. They're right, but bear with me.
Yeah, but that's not the point.
It's not.
My point is that he needs to be kicked out of office because it will be a massive blow to his ego.
Yeah.
It will be a massive blow to his career, and he will forever be remembered as a failed prime minister.
Yeah.
That's why he needs to go.
I completely agree.
And I don't care that the next person is no longer any better. Doesn't matter.
I have a personal grievance against the man.
He needs to go. He just needs to get out.
And like you said, I completely agree with that. He needs to go in disgrace.
Yeah.
Absolutely, like booted out in disgrace.
Yeah, because he shouldn't be able to enjoy the fruits of his labours, as it were. No. He shouldn't be able to go, oh, well, I was the Prime Minister for, 2 years and I stewarded the economy and such, No, here's what you did. You ruined the country. You ruined the fabric of society. You created more division than any Prime Minister has ever created in his life, and you did it in record time. And that's your bleeding legacy.
It'd be good for the mental health of the nation for him to be booted out as well, to be honest.
I think it would.
Even though it's,
because we would all feel better. I would feel a lot better if he walked out of Downing Street today and literally just never was seen again.
It's because he's so arrogant. Because you can disagree with someone's politics if you want, right? You can totally and still get on with them. They can still be an all right person. You can still have a chat with them. In fact, I find that quite a lot in the media. Right? It's people I've seen on the telly are actually quite nice. Keir Starmer's just he's a wanker.
No, but because it's not just about his kind of policies, though. It's because of the fact that he's so sort of, he pretends to be this morally superior creature.
And he's arrogant.
So, he doesn't disagree with you. You're wrong because you're not, a morally decent person. And that's his view. And so he thinks that you and I are not worthy people to speak to.
Well, when he gave that statement after the local elections, You know, there was no contrition.
No.
There was no nothing. It was like, yeah, we just didn't do very well on getting our message across.
We didn't get our message across. No, you did get your message across. That's why people hate you.
Yeah.
Because your message is crap.
We needed to be louder at our message or something.
Yeah.
What?
I know. It's really. I have to be.
I think he knows, Mike. I think he knows
I could
it.
literally just swear from now until the end of the day. So I'm going to have to curb myself otherwise. Let's try and get some comedy value into the show by watching what Andy Burnham's had. Andy Burnham, right, decided, which is brilliant for us, to do the daily video diary of what he's doing, right? And he's the first 2 days we played. This is day 3. And I haven't seen this one yet, but normally what he does is I've been out and about shaking hands with people and deciding that, you know, this is what we're going to do. And you're going, none of this is of any importance whatsoever. Should we have a look? It's number 1, I think, Andy Burnham, day 3.
Hi everyone, campaign update, day 3, Belvedere Road, Ashton, sunblock on. Brilliant actually to be out on the doorsteps with undecided voters, just to have the chance to chat. Explain why I'm doing this. Some undecided voters coming over, which is absolutely brilliant. So it's important to address the issues that are coming up and the things that people want to discuss with me. And one of them is the feeling that I might neglect the constituency. So I do want to address that one directly with you. I think it might help if I do. Well, what can I say? I used to represent part of this constituency. Taught 20 or so years ago. It was in the Lee constituency. And I was in the cabinet. And I can say I never neglected Lee. I used that influence to help get the Lee Sports Village built, to get the regeneration at Bickershaw Marina, to get a young girl home from Libya. And you may have seen that video at the weekend. And that's my answer. I would never do that. I'm rooted here. I live here, dedicated to these parts and people who live in our communities. And the thing is, you know, if you do give me your backing, I think it could make Makerfield the most powerful constituency in the land. Imagine the voice that we would have. So what I would say to you all, hopefully I'll get onto your doorstep soon. Join the Makerfield movement. Let's get together and get the voice of our communities here heard more loudly than ever before.
Does this bloke own a shirt with a collar? Why does he keep wearing these shirts
He's
with
going
no
for the
collars?
cash look, Mike.
We're looking for a swear word, by the way, which we can use at liberty. Pooch is trawling the medieval dictionary that he's got over there.
What's one he came up with a minute ago?
Loverwort, yeah, Loverwort.
Smell fungus.
Smell fungus is better, I think. Loverwort doesn't sound quite dangerous enough.
Bed swerver.
Bed swerver, that's
Yeah.
good. Bed swerver, yeah. Keir Starmer, bed swerver.
Nice.
Yeah,
you know,
that's
I
not bad.
can't say it enough. I can't, because I have to control myself, because I don't want to swear too much, because we don't like to swear on the channel. No. And it's not just because we're morally kind of, you know, frightened of it. It's that actually, if we swear too much, they demonetise the show. So we don't want to do that. So bed swerver, definitely. Andy Burnham, though, he banging on there. Again, day 3, no policy, no kind of idea of what he's going to do for the country. All we get is, you know, I once brought somebody back from Libya when they were in trouble, and you know, I don't care.
No.
Also, bringing something back from Libya is not going to make me vote for you, mate. And then he goes, Makerfield could be the most important constituency in the country.
Oh, yeah.
No, it couldn't actually. Nobody gives a damn.
All of a sudden, Andy Burnham knows Makerfield really well. The reason he's doing this is because he's been advised that one of the biggest criticisms about Andy Burnham running for the seat is everybody knows that he is being helicoptered in.
Yes.
He doesn't care about the people who live in Makersfield.
Let's not forget, the only reason he's running in an election here is that a Labour candidate who was voted in by the people 2 years ago has basically given up his seat so that he can break democracy and put somebody
under a
else
cloud, if you ask me, as well.
Yeah,
Right,
absolutely.
I've got some suggestions.
Yeah,
here.
go on. Go on then. Oh, let's have a look. Bed swerver, I quite like.
Yeah. I like axe waddle.
Axe mod, boot licker.
Bench whistler.
That's quite good.
I don't know what that is.
Blatteroon.
Brother of a gusset. That's good.
Blatteroon.
Blowmonger's quite good.
Buffard. I like all of these. These are all good.
Choose one.
Should we choose one that we can just keep using?
Butt kiss. No.
No. Blowmonger, I think. I like blowmonger.
Blatteroon.
Blowmonger is analogous to whore. Blowmonger. Can we not have blowmonger?
That's
Buffard.
fine.
I don't know,
Blowmonger.
Buffard's
Keir Starmer, you blowmonger. You complete and utter charlatan. Blowmonger is good. One from Hev Chip says this: Starmer is a Mome goal catcher.
Oh, wow.
Which is quite nice. By the way, we asked for people's suggestions for polls, but I haven't seen one yet. Have you seen one that we can use?
Yeah.
Starmer is a Buffard, brother of a Gusset. That's quite good. Stan Boardman. That's not really an insult. It's just somebody's name. Yeah. Boris Johnson was quite good at coming up with creative insults. Yeah, he was. I like Blowmonger.
Yeah, Boris was good.
I think Blowmonger is definitely my favourite.
I know this is slightly off topic.
Yeah, go on.
Toe rag.
Toe rag is good.
Because I found out what a toe rag actually is. Do you know what a toe rag is?
What is a toe rag?
A toe rag used to be the rag that back in the day, the sailors, when they needed to wipe their bottom after going to the toilet, they would use the toe rag, and it was called a toe rag because they attached it to a bit of a string and just dangled it in the water after they finished with it, and it towed.
Oh, I see.
So Keir
Starmer,
that would
clean it.
So it's basically an arse wipe.
Right.
Keir Starmer.
Okay.
So toe rag is actually quite a vicious insult.
That is good. I quite like the word toe rag, actually.
I do now.
How about this from MC? This is a poll. Which politician should be tried for treason first? Blair, Starmer, Hermer, or May? That's good. I like that.
Starmer.
Should we do that? Should we do that as a proper poll?
That's a great
Charlotte
poll.
can put that together. Who would you choose?
Without a question, it'd be Starmer.
I think Starmer.
In order: Starmer, Hermer, Blair.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah, because Theresa May didn't really do anything treasonous, did she?
Completely inconsequential.
I mean, she didn't really do anything.
Mandelson in there instead.
Yeah, what, instead of Theresa May? Yeah, all right. Put Mandelson in, yeah.
Gosh,
I think I'd go with you, though. Starmer first and then Hermer.
Yeah. Both of those two should be...
And in fact, I would go a step further and suggest that you put them in the boat and tow them behind it like a tow rag.
Yeah, exactly.
Just like let them.
People think we're joking about this treason stuff. If you look into what treason is, I mean, it's not exactly difficult to understand the definition of what treason is. It is damaging this country.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about accidentally damaging this country and say, there's been some bad policies over the years. I'm talking about deliberate and willful damage to our nation. Yeah. And you can talk about things like the Chagos Islands for a start.
Yes.
That's one of the best examples, right? We own that. It's been sovereign territory since 1814. We're under no obligation by anyone to give it up. But him and Hermer, Keir Starmer and Hermer, have made it their mission to give that away and pay billions of our money for the privilege. That is the very definition of treason.
Absolutely.
Without a doubt.
Yeah.
He should be booted out of office
Handing over
and arrested.
sovereign territory. I mean, remember there's a great
Without a
headline
mandate.
in The Sun when they actually tried to stop the Chagosians from landing on their own island so they could live in it. And it said something like, what was it? How did they put it? It was very good. British people stopped from occupying British territory in a British country.
Yeah.
Something like that, because that's what they're doing.
Yeah.
We speak to Bisley Mandarin all the time, and he's a great guy. He's the first minister of the Chagos Islands. They've tried to literally stop him from being able to live there, even though it's his birthright to live there.
They've been awful
It's been
to him.
disgraceful.
They're trying to make his life. They're trying to make it a hostile environment for him over there. I wish they'd do that here for the migrants.
I wish they would.
Absolutely.
Well, this is the only boat they've ever stopped going anywhere was Nigel Farage trying to get to the Chagos Islands.
Yeah, totally.
And they managed to stop that one. But the rest of the boats that come in here. In fact, we've got there's a piece in the Mail today saying we're spending £1.2 million for some new migrant boats. Right? Let's check this out.
Nice.
You'll be pleased to know that this is where your taxpayers' money's going. Yeah, desperate Home Office chief spending millions on new boats and repairs to its existing fleet as the English Channel migrant crisis is set to continue for years. They're paying £1.259 million to rent the crude, rigid, hull inflatable boats for a year with the option to extend for a further 24 months. So they clearly think that they're going to need these ribs because they can't stop the boats.
Yeah. That is bizarre.
Isn't it?
I do not understand what he's trying to put.
Unbelievable.
The other thing, just going back to Keir Starmer very quickly, is treason. Treason is also. I just wanted to get this out because it was doing my head in. Treason's also assisting a foreign country to damage us.
Yes.
Now you look at Keir Starmer's entire career. Right. He has gone out of his way to represent. Not all of them. Some of them do follow the cab brake rule, but a lot of them don't follow the cab brake rule.
I don't believe any of that crap,
No,
by the
well,
way.
there is some truth to the official cab brake rule if you're doing it to get paid, but he did a lot of this for free. Now, he went after our veterans. He persecuted them for years.
And still doing it.
Still doing it. He's removed the sunset clause on the Northern Ireland thing. That, again, he's going for our veterans. That is treasonous behaviour as well. So we have multiple questionable, genuine issues of treason, right?
No question.
So why aren't we going to be using this against him? Because we're not. He'll get booted out of office in disgrace, and that'll be the end of it. There'll never be any repercussions for any of the stuff that he's done.
No.
And there
That's a
bloody
shame.
well should be.
There really should be. Leyland says this: Maggie Thatcher should be on the poll. She ruined our utility companies, transport and industry. I disagree. Maggie Thatcher did everything she could to support this country. You might not like some of the things that she did, but there was by no means any suggestion of what she did was treasonous. There was another one that was up there just before on the Super Chats about somebody moaning about the poll. Did you see that one, Pooch?
Yeah.
Pedant of the day. This one, that's too difficult a poll, as you should have put an option, all of them. Colin, mate, listen, you're taking it too seriously. Just put all of them down then. Just tick every box, and then you can help yourself to the idea that they're all treasonous. This one from Dapopo. Elon Musk has now offered to fund a private prosecution against the UK police force.
Yeah, heard that. I hope he follows through.
I think Elon Musk needs to button it, really, don't you?
Yeah, no,
I like Elon Musk. I think he's a genius. I think he's a brilliant bloke. But what he understands about the British political system, you could stick on the back of a post-it
I agree
note,
with you on that.
and he doesn't need to keep interfering.
I do back him. I'm not going to lie. I agree with you partially on what you just said, but I do back him on this. I think that if purely because I know that our system isn't going to expose these police properly.
Yeah.
Right. We haven't got a system that's going to be. There's no accountability in this country at all.
Yeah.
And maybe if Elon Musk takes them to a private prosecution, then at least the family could get some.
Yeah, the only problem for me with that is that, one, it costs a load of money, and it costs the taxpayers a load of money for the police to defend it. And I don't really want foreign people coming to this country, taking our sort of
using our legal
framework
system
of democracy to task, or using our legal system and clogging it up. It's none of his business. Elon Musk is,
It's a good cause on this occasion.
Well, it is, but still, it's nothing to do with him.
True.
True. It's a bit like, Elon Musk coming to you and saying, you're not being very nice to your wife, so I'm going to intervene, and I'm going to get your wife, and I'm going to take her out, and I'm going to make sure that she gets a decent lawyer so she can prosecute you, and I'm going to pay for it. And you go, why don't you bugger off? Why don't you stay out of my life?
True.
You know what I mean? It's none of his business. And I think he has to be a bit careful. As much as we like Elon Musk, we have to be careful that you don't just like him because he's a bit right-wing. And that everything he says is right, because even Donald Trump knows when he steps over the line. Donald Trump kicked him out of the White House and was like, we'll see you later. But now he's back in favour. He went to China with Trump, which is fine.
He doesn't have a filter.
No, he has no filter. He's got a bit of an autistic problem, and it's like, keep your bloody nose out of Britain. Stop interfering. Quite frankly, unless you want to give everybody £1 million. Yeah, in which case that's fine.
In which case that'd be fine. Absolutely,
be more than happy to take your money.
Easily afford.
No, but honestly, I don't want him interfering in our sort of dealings of the day. I just don't think we are a sovereign country, and even though we might be run by complete and utter idiots, they're our idiots, if you know what I mean.
Yeah,
we voted them in. Don't forget, there's millions of people out there who voted for these bloody morons to run the country. It's their fault.
True.
We don't need Elon Musk to rescue us from that. We just need the people of this country to wise up and go, do you know what? Let's get them out and let's get somebody else in who knows what they're doing.
And hold them to account.
Yeah.
That's what this country lacks.
But what we don't need is Elon Musk knocking around.
We should do it ourselves.
Yeah, exactly.
I do agree with that. I'd much prefer we did it ourselves.
Exactly right. Top man. Good to see you. A couple of other stories just to mention before we let you go. There's water shortages kicking in this weekend.
Oh, lovely.
Because it's been very warm, of course. And so South East Water have already told people that, in fact, there's already areas of the South East, down in Kent and Sussex, where they've run out of water. And they're saying, we're terribly sorry.
We're a failed state, Mike.
We are a failed state. It's like living in Libya under Colonel Gaddafi,
literally.
Yeah. And also, Nicola Sturgeon. Should we have a look at that? There's a great clip, actually. Nicola Sturgeon was in Ireland yesterday, right? And people were running around trying to ask her a few questions. She didn't have much to say, but apparently she's basically said this has been the worst week of her life. Have a look at this.
Nicola, can you understand why...
Filming in here, sorry.
Nicola, can you understand why some people don't believe you when you said that... Nicola, why won't you answer questions from the media in relation to your husband?
I mean, where does she get the idea that she could just wander about, right, and be hidden and taken through the kitchen and, you know, oh, isn't it terrible? Oh, look at that. Oh, isn't it nasty? Oh, look, those terrible journalists are trying to, you know, get an answer out of Nicola Sturgeon, the former First Minister of Scotland, whose husband appears to have been, you know, filling his pockets with billions and billions of pens and all the rest of it. And also, did you see the other story that apparently the police yesterday, it was revealed in Scotland, didn't include a whole series of other things that he'd bought, including loads of pairs of women's knickers.
What?
Yes, loads of pairs of women's knickers. I've got it here, actually. Let me find it for you. And because they, you know how originally the charges were referring to something like £600,000 worth of stuff, right? And they've watered it down to £400,000 of stuff. But this is in the Sun in Scotland. Women's razors, knickers, makeup and fitness gear were deleted from Peter Murrell's rap sheet as part of his plea deal with prosecutors. Around £2,700 worth of spending on female vanity products was listed, including £886 for foundation makeup, and 480 motion sensor mirrors. There was a £300 Dyson hairdryer, 9 makeup organisers at £116, Nike tracksuits at £175, and also a whole bunch of underwear to the tune of several £1,000s.
That is insane.
Who is he buying the knickers for?
I don't even want to know.
Or is he wearing them?
Don't the SNP basically run the police up there? It's,
Yes.
it's a different system up
Yeah,
there,
yeah.
isn't it? And that
Yeah.
was what I found so infuriating at the time with Nicola Sturgeon, because she was banged to rights, if I remember. The way that she went after Alex Salmond,
Yes.
right? She was banged to rights. They had all the WhatsApp
Yeah,
messages, everything like that. And she miraculously just got away with it.
Yeah.
And I didn't know this at the time. When you looked at the setup of how it works in Scotland, probably loads of people know this, but the SNP literally run the police, they run the court system, they run the whole bloody lot.
Yeah.
How did that even happen? How was that even allowed to happen?
I know.
And there he is doing some sort of plea
because
deal.
once they got themselves into position and into power, they solidified that power and they made it impossible for anybody else to interfere.
Isn't
And
there any
that's
oversight from
No.
Westminster?
None.
That's utterly ludicrous.
Because again, in London, people forget that that's a kind of private fiefdom and nobody really understands it.
Or they just don't, you know.
They just don't, they don't know will. Nothing to do with us.
Scotland.
The Tories don't care because they've got no seats up there. Labour have lost everything. They used to have 58 seats in Parliament from Scotland, and they lost pretty much every single one of them. And so, they've
Well,
just
this is
let
why
it-
I'm enjoying what's happening to Nicola Sturgeon.
Yeah.
She didn't get a comeuppance
And I
at the
hate
time.
as I say, that video there of her walking around trying to stay away from anybody asking her any questions as if she's, I don't know, Beyonce.
There's this great. I didn't
It's
find
like,
it.
sorry, darling, you're gonna have to say why you did what you did. You were in possession of public money, and we need to nail you to the floor. Thank you very much
Totally.
indeed.
There's a great post, right?
Give the knickers back.
With Nicola Sturgeon sat on her sofa at home, just surrounded with Prada bags and stuff, and she just said, "I didn't have the faintest idea."
Yeah, I
or
know.
something like that.
I know.
You're
As they
so
say in
busted.
Scotland, do you think my head zips up the back? It really, it's absolutely ridiculous. Anyway, listen, Lee, great to see you.
Pleasure.
Are you going to go and hook up with those guys?
Yeah,
that you saw
they're
earlier?
waiting for me. They're waiting for me now.
They're waiting outside. Lee Harris, ladies and gentlemen, top man. We will be, of course, back with you very shortly. And we're going to be talking to William Clouston, who I presume is not in the studio, because if he was, he'd be here. Oh, he's here.
Oh, there he is.
See, he's literally like James Bond. I was thinking,
Snuck in,
no,
didn't
because
he?
I'm thinking, why am I not getting a message saying he's outside or something like that? I didn't. Came in through the bathroom
right
window.
in there.
Yeah. Well, welcome. Well, so exciting. William Clouston's here, so we'll be talking to him next. First of all, though, let's get some news. Is it with Fiona MacLeod?
Yes, it is.
Fiona, bring it.
Good morning, all. I'm Fiona MacLeod. Eddie has taken a break today. He's gone to Stratford-upon-Avon to brush up on the Bard. I love it when he does poetry. Britain's been absolutely roasting under a record-breaking May heatwave. 35 degrees Celsius in London, smashing all-time highs. Meanwhile, a major report drops revealing there's 1 million young people not in education, employment or training, heading towards 1.25 million and costing £125 billion a year. In politics, Keir Starmer's still fending off Tony Blair's latest helpful intervention, abandon net zero, cozy up to Trump, while Nigel Farage and Reform keep gaining ground. Phones are allegedly being hacked by Russians, and the Housing Ombudsman warns of simmering anger over terrible living conditions. That's your news. See you later, alligators.
I'll tell you what, I mean, I didn't tell you this yesterday, Pooch, but I've had some applications from outside of various newsreaders.
Really?
Yeah. Many of them women, some of them men, all thinking that Edward Hughes has lost the plot and applying for his job, basically.
Well, he certainly lost the plot, but we like Fiona.
Fiona can do this every day, as far as I'm concerned. Great dress, that. Fantastic. William Cliston's here. Very good morning to you, sir.
Hi.
Nice to see you. We are indeed in, once again, a dark place. I haven't even touched upon this because I'm not really sure whether the prostate cancer screening programme is an important story for people. I don't know what you think about it. Government advisors yesterday rejected calls for a major prostate cancer screening programme. I mean, to be honest, I'm less concerned about that than I am about Tony Blair sticking his nose into what Keir Starmer should be doing.
Yeah.
And whether we should be reconstructing the country in his image.
He's got a nerve. He has a nerve, considering he caused a lot of the problems.
Yeah.
I've read that encyclical, 5,700 words.
Have you read all of it?
I've read it twice.
Wow.
I read it first and then commented on it.
Yeah.
And actually, a magazine asked me to write about it. I didn't have time to actually do a proper piece, but then read it again because I wanted to check something. It was very interesting.
Yeah.
He doesn't mention the word housing once.
Really?
Yeah, not even once, right? So if you're a young person, you want to set a life up and you don't want to pay half your salary on rent, it's not a problem, nothing to see here. But his head's in the clouds about Britain's standing in the world, you know, and our international reputation, are we on the, you know, people...
People asked me yesterday, why do you think Tony Blair's done this?
Yeah.
And I said, I think it's because he is actually genuinely worried that the Labour movement is dying on its backside and that if he doesn't save it, nobody else is going to save it.
I don't think he can save it. It's the people in the Labour Party are... He's right about four things, I read in the essay anyway. He's right. The first thing he says is the Labour Party's deluded, and Starmer's deluded, and most of the top leadership is deluded. Well, that's true, and it's true of not just Labour, it's true of the Lib Dems and the Greens, all these other progressives.
Yeah.
They're all deluded.
Yeah.
They don't know what reality is. So he's right about that, and he's right about three other things. Net zero is very costly, foolish policy. He's right that we should get a border. We shouldn't allow people just to wander in. And he's right that welfare costs are out of control and will ruin the country.
Yeah.
Anyway, so he's right about but he doesn't talk about any of...
But hang on, but none of those things are any great surprise to us,
no.
right? You and I have been talking about this
for
years, right?
Yeah.
Every time you come on this show, we talk about the problem with housing, the problem with immigration, the problem with the economy, the welfare budget, which is too high. You know, it's not like he's suddenly got this, amazing bolt of lightning come out of the sky, and there he is holding the,
But that's how it's been received.
The staff of truth.
Yeah. But that's how it's been received. Yeah. One of the staggering things about this essay is how it's been received. Some quite reasonable, respectable political journalists said, "Oh, isn't it wonderful? It's so good. He's so insightful.
Yeah.
Really, he should be Prime Minister again."
Right.
And they forget what he did.
Yeah.
He had the golden economic legacy. I'll tell you what, it's not very popular, this, but Major and Clark, that government, was a better government than people realise. Actually, it didn't do a lot right, but wrong, but it didn't screw things up. You know, it basically repaired the balance sheet and handed in '97 what Clark always said was the sort of golden economic legacy, and they ruined it. Labour.
Well, somebody I was listening to earlier in maybe back end of earlier this week, can't remember. Anyway, but they said basically Blair was lucky because he came in '97. Nothing really went wrong.
Nothing.
There was really no. The biggest problem he had, I think, was some kind of a strike. Was it a lorry driver strike or a petrol strike or something like that?
Nothing.
But basically everything went his way.
It did.
And he was handed a pretty decent legacy.
Very.
And as you say, he then ruined it.
Blew it. But he went illegal wars, foreign wars, cost a lot of money. It didn't. And I remind people, he didn't build any nuclear power stations. Didn't build a single reservoir. Built fewer. New Labour built fewer houses than Thatcher did per year.
Right.
They deindustrialised it. He's going on about in the essay about, you know, your power is based on your military and your industrial strength. Well, he wasn't concerned with industrial strength.
No.
He declined
our industry.
He destroyed it. Yeah, he destroyed the industry.
Because there was a much bigger industry in Britain in 1997 than there was when he left in 2009 or whatever.
Correct.
It was,
actually,
right?
industrial production peaked in 1990, actually.
Yeah.
Yeah. So it did, but you know...
So this morning, right, Andy Burnham has answered him and written a big essay for the Times.
Well, I've got to read another one.
The best bit about the essay is not the essay at all. It's the picture that they've used,
Right.
which has got Andy Burnham sitting in the same room as Tony Blair while he's speaking.
Back in the
because
day.
what we need to know about Andy Burnham is that he is a chameleon of the worst kind, a political charlatan who slips his skin like a rattlesnake, and has been, a Blairite, a Brownite, a Corbynite. He's been a Milibandist. He's been a Starmerite.
He's keen on
He's done all of those things.
He's keen on it. He won't rule out a deal with the Greens.
Right.
Have you read about that?
Yeah.
So he's going to cozy up to the Greens, and it's always been my worst nightmare in 3 years' time.
Yes.
The public gets to this, despite what's happened on a very, very divided right. The right is... People forget about the Tories, don't they? They talk about the by-election. They just forget the Tories are in there, but they might get a few hundred votes. But it's the worst nightmare is that you end up with this awful, progressive, sort of hideous coalition between SNP, Plaid, Greens, Lib Dems, and Labour. It could happen, and actually Burnham probably wants it.
And Burnham is sort of the epitome, is he not, of the modern day left winger, who has literally no principles whatsoever. He's only interested in his own image. You know, the idea that he's actually running to be Prime Minister has been forgotten. He's making out that he's saving Makerfield. He's like, he keeps walking around going, I'm from here. I love this place. I want to represent these people. No, you don't. You want to be Prime Minister, which means you won't represent them at all because you'll hardly be there. And what you want to do is somehow kind of crown yourself King of the North.
Yeah.
Which he's clearly not.
Which that's his image anyway. But the problem is, look at his CV. Look at his actual CV.
Yeah.
And a proper
It's
job.
awful.
And a proper job ever.
He's never had a proper job.
No, you go out, you go into comms, you leave university, you go into comms, then you work for an MP, then you work for the Labour Party, then you work for another couple of charities. And I said, look, I've said on the show before, charity work's important, but he has no commercial experience. No. This is a man, he wants to be Prime Minister, Mike, and he said, he's on record last year of saying we shouldn't be in hock to the bond markets.
Yeah.
Going to find out the hard way, I'm afraid.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But of course, he then tries to deny saying that.
He did say
it. But he did say it. We've got the clip, you can see it. And the point is that he's said loads of things in the past, and he's done loads of things in the past, all of which are shameful, and none of which would support any of the stuff that he says now.
So what would it do if he became, I mean, I said before on your show that I thought Miliband was, I'm not sure Miliband is the favourite even in my house now. I mean, he wouldn't be any favourite, but I think if
he's gone very quiet,
who I thought,
hasn't he?
Yeah, I think if Burnham wins, he probably becomes Prime Minister. But what will it do? What's the effect of that? Well, he's more palatable and probably more likeable than Starmer, which isn't very difficult. But it goes on for another 6 months.
But he's also more left-wing than Starmer,
very
and
possibly.
That is a real problem.
Well, but no one knows what Starmer, apart from the human rights aspect and the worship of international law and putting law above the country's interests, which is what Starmerism really is about. No one knows what his economics are. He doesn't seem to have a view. At least like Burnham, at least I know he likes public transport, he likes trains, likes buses, but that's about it. Right. All this stuff. Have you ever read about Manchesterism?
Manchester. What a stupid phrase that is. Yeah. What the hell is Manchesterism? It's rubbish, right? But the point about Starmer, I think, about his kind of ideology is that you can see a very strong strain of what I would call authoritarianism that runs through him. And that's what I would say I would remember Starmer for. The clamping down on law and order, the kind of the punishment of people who've said the wrong thing, the people he's gone after for thinking the wrong things. I think that, to me, that makes him almost more of a sort of communist figure.
Yeah, right? No, they seem to slip into that very easily. If you don't toe the line, you're in real trouble. And he's keen on that.
Economically, you're right. I don't know that there's anything very clear about how he feels. But again, state intervention is everything for them. They want to be involved in your life. They want to be in your bedroom. They want to be in your living room. They want to be in your kitchen, telling you what to eat. What to buy, what to have your kids doing.
But it's still vibes based. It's like, so if Burnham gets in, we're gonna transfer. You'll get this Manchester growth thing. If you look under the bonnet of Manchester growth, it's been like it's not industrial anyway.
My son lives in Manchester, right?
My middle boy used to live there.
is a disaster zone. It is not in any way, shape, or form the modern, gleaming sort of superstructure of what the Britain that we should be looking forward to being in, because it's got. I mean, apart from anything else, Piccadilly Gardens. I don't know if you've seen what goes on there. It looks like a cross between the sort of the rabble of San Francisco and the people all staggering around on.
No, it's not a pretty sight at times.
On drugs, right?
Yeah.
You've got massive levels of crime. You've got massive levels of immigration. You've got massive levels of child poverty. It is not in any way something that you should take as an indicator of what the Britain should be.
And it's also quite expensive, actually, for young people. The rents are very expensive, and yet the growth has mainly come from things like giving planning consents to foreign entities to shove up massive blocks of flats.
And if Burnham is to be thought of as the great kind of bringer of public transport to the country and to the city, every time I've ever been there to see my son, we've had to get out of the car that we've been taking into town because the traffic's so bad.
Yeah, the traffic.
And we've ended up walking the rest of the way. It's a shocking state of affairs.
And actually, the tram was built before he came around.
Yeah,
actually, yes, that's true. No, but you get my gist.
And he spent 100 million quid on capping the bus fares at £2, right? Yeah. Which means that actually it's not free, it's not good, it's everybody else is paying for it. He spent 200 million quid on an ULEZ scheme that didn't happen.
No, I know, but
the guy's an idiot.
But this is vibes, Mike. It's not the reality. This is the problem. It's not material reality. I mean, again, if you look at the Manchester's growth story, it's services and a bit of housing boom on foreign money. It's not actually very sustainable. And if you applied it nationally to the country, it wouldn't improve things. So, mate, what's the half-life of a Burnham premiership? When would he catch Starmer up in unpopularity? About 6 months, a year?
Maybe less.
Nothing.
Maybe less. Because I don't think he's actually talentless. So once he got in, everyone would suddenly see through this image of this brand new kind of he's like what do they used to call it, the white hot technological revolution of Harold Wilson.
That's right.
Right, where it was all going to be gleaming washing machines and you drive around in really really cool cars, and then suddenly after about 2 weeks with Burnham you'd go, oh, is that it?
Well, at least no, it's a good comparison, Mike, because actually at least with the wise heat of technology, which wasn't exactly what he said in the speech, but at least you had George Brown that had a plan and had some resources and they're actually doing things. The problem is they get all the rhetoric now and you've got no actual delivery.
No. And there's nothing they can bring to the table that will change my life, right? Or change your life, other than for the worse.
No.
Because they'll take more money off you and go, well, you should be taxed more, shouldn't you? He's going to bring a mansion tax in. He's going to put income tax up. He's going to want to spend more government money on...
Squeeze the middle classes.
Squeeze the middle classes. More government money, more kind of, intervention again by the state. It's a highway to nowhere.
Yeah. And what about the aspect of him being sort of dropped in without, again, yet another prime minister emerges without anyone voting for him?
I think that's quite a disturbing problem.
It's become a habit in this country.
And of course, Burnham has again quoted as a man who said that during the Boris Johnson kind of times that if you're going to give us a new prime minister, we should have an election.
Yeah,
that's what he said.
Oh, sure, you say it then. But his democratic credentials are not very good, are they? For the obvious reason. He's keen on rejoining the EU.
Yeah.
He said this, he's on record.
Yeah.
But that's another flip-flop.
In his lifetime, he
said he wants to do that, and then we're not sure. It's a bit like Tony Blair, isn't it? He's talking about a structured relationship with the EU. What he means is a rule taker. Do as you're told, high alignment. No, it's a disaster. I despair sometimes.
What do you make of the other story that's been big this week, in addition to Andy Burnham? And it's another Blairite sort of coming out from the beyond the grave, Alan Milburn, who I never liked, I have to say, as the head of the NHS.
He doesn't have a reputation of being likeable.
No, he's not likeable. But again, he's treated with this kind of reverence, as if he's some kind of genius, And I saw him. I was watching, and I know this is petty, but I am petty. I was watching him on Laura Kunsberg's show on Sunday on the BBC, and he's wearing a dark suit, and he's got a sort of black polo shirt on, which has got sort of 3 buttons, and the reason people say to me, why does it matter what they wear?
Yeah.
I'll tell you why it matters, because it looks as though somebody's told him to wear that. He's been to a focus group. They've said, here's how you come across as a more friendly kind of individual.
Yeah.
Don't wear a white shirt with a collar.
Yeah.
Don't wear a tie.
Yeah,
wear
do
a
that.
kind of polo
Yeah,
shirt
yeah.
and look cool, as if you're sort of in a, some rock band or other at the age of 60 plus. And he was just talking absolute nuts of crap about, helping children to get into jobs, helping, they've killed,
well, he's not, I tell you what,
killed the economy. There aren't any bloody jobs.
Yeah, there's a problem with that. I'll tell you a little anecdote. So I in the hustings during the Hexham, during the general election in 2024, we did six hustings, and I'm an old-fashioned politician, so I actually turn up and debate people,
Right.
and we do it. And I think the hustings in Ponteilla, I got up to the lectern and I was ready to give my speech, and I gave the little speech, and right in front of me was Alan Milburn sitting in the third row. It slightly put me off. What's he doing here? The problem with the approach is that what they're trying to do is they're trying to roll the pitch for necessary welfare reform and to get particularly young people off welfare. It's just it's far too easy to sign people. Let's say you have the money, stay in your room and rot. That's what we're doing.
Yeah.
And the point he makes, which is true, that for every £25 we give to these young people in their 20s to rot in their rooms, we spend £1 in trying to get them into work. So that's obviously. But the problem with it is, Mike, is obvious. And the Secretary of State asked him to do this report. Why? He asked him to do the report because Labour came to power with no plan, don't know what they're going to do or how to do it. And halfway through, we're getting towards halfway through the term of this Labour government, they're thinking, well, we want to do this, how we do it, it's a little bit difficult. Let's roll the pitch and our mate to do a report on it. Then if you're lucky, a year later, something might be done about it. They might start to reduce this.
But is it not a bit like similar to what Tony Blair came out with? It's all a bit bleeding obvious, isn't it? I mean, it's not as though there's some revelation that's been given to the masses where Alan Milburn's suddenly gone, look what I've found. I've been searching through the statistics and it turns out that this is true or that's true. Yeah. No, I mean, we all know that there's 1 million kids who aren't in work
and
or
it's
training.
Getting worse. It's getting worse.
Yeah, exactly. And there's a reason for that, and it's not difficult to figure out what it is. The reason is there aren't any jobs for them.
Well, that's true, and most of the jobs that are there are going to migrant labour, which is you're putting migrant labour above.
Migrants,
they can't. It's the same as Mike. It's the same as Tony Blair's 5,000 word encyclical. It doesn't mention housing. It mentions illegal immigration. It doesn't mention legal migration.
No.
Legal migration is far bigger as an issue, far bigger. Basically, British workers have been undercut by foreign labour for years and years and years. Every single political party's done it. Labour's doing it, the Tories did it, everyone's doing it, and you wonder why British kids can't get into jobs. They haven't had the training, and often they haven't got the opportunity. But the state can't just say, here's the money, stay at home. He's right about that. My problem with it is, if you are in opposition for 13 years, you better work out what you're doing by the time you're elected.
Yes.
And they haven't.
Which they didn't do.
They didn't do.
But they said they were ready. They told us. I mean, Keir Starmer, I remember we played the clip endlessly after he got in. On July the 3rd, the day before the election, he said, we are ready for government. We are ready in every single department. We will hit the ground running. We've got a plan.
They hadn't done
and
it
they
yet.
had no plan. They didn't hit the ground running. And even, as I quite often say to some comedy effect, Sue Gray, who was given the charge of the first 100 days, didn't even last to 94. She left at 93 days, right? But the other thing that I think is interesting, and I'd be interested to get your view on this. Yesterday, the story came out that birth rates have plunged to a new low, and 40% now of babies born here have got a foreign parent.
Yes.
Right? Now, this is not a xenophobic thing to say, but that's not good for Britain, is it?
No, it's not. I mean, what's happened, and if you talk about massive demographic change, and if you talk about the reality of white British people being replaced in the cities first and in the country in general, if you look at where the trends are going, you get accused of a lot of things, but the fact is it's happening.
Yeah.
People shouldn't be indifferent to it because a country is its culture. Right?
The country is losing its identity. Our identity is going.
It is, right? and none of the establishment class will even stop it getting worse.
Yeah.
I mean, it was controversial, but Restore did their mass deportations report last year. I put my name to it because I worked on it with them.
Yeah.
And obviously I'm not involved now, but you can't allow millions of people to be here illegally.
Yeah.
And that's what they're doing.
No.
And also the addiction to mass migration and open borders is just insane.
Yeah.
And that's the result. That's what you will get.
Yeah.
I mean, there's some hope, because some parties do recognise the problem, but despite all the talk about sort of deportations, because on Twitter, of course, the response is deport, deport.
Yeah.
Anyone that's illegal should be deported, and we need to end this insane level of migration. But why don't you just get a border first?
Yeah.
I mean, should we just stop it getting worse?
Yeah.
We wanted right the way through. It's a
decent.
problem. The whole of the West has this issue. Australia has too much migration actually, but at least it controls it.
Yeah.
At least it's in charge of who comes in.
Yes.
Unlike us.
I know. Shocking. Absolutely shocking. William, great to see you. What are you hearing, by the way, in one final question for you, in Makerfield in terms of Restore and Reform and the whole kind of, there
What do I
seems to
make
be...
of it?
It's hard to determine exactly what the numbers are because the polls, to me, are all over the place.
Yeah, and
I
all talking
can't
their own book.
work out whether Restore are going to be 7% or 10% or 1%. It's difficult to know. What are you hearing?
I'm hearing that the Labour Party will win reasonably easily.
Really?
And they shouldn't. Yeah, and they shouldn't do, because if you look at the actual demographics of Makerfield, it should be a slam dunk for Reform.
Yeah.
But the candidate probably isn't the best candidate. I mean, some people like him, some people don't.
Yeah.
You get the
Well, he
usual
hasn't
offence archaeology.
He hasn't got the greatest background. has
No, but I would say, not on the divisions in the right, it's up to that quadrant to sort it out in the end. You have three parties contesting it. The Tories might get a few hundred votes as well. But, Restore have a right to contest it. You can't, the same arguments...
Oh, for sure, yeah.
Yeah, the same
No
arguments
question.
people used to say about Reform taking Tory votes. They're now saying Restore's taking...
Oh, yeah.
Well, they're going to work it out.
I've said it. I would never be one of those who would say, you should stand down and let them win.
Yeah.
Because that's not how democracy works. Sorry. And if the vote gets split, the vote gets split.
Yeah.
Do better. Work it out. Figure it out.
I would prefer someone other than Labour to win it, obviously. But I don't see that Labour don't win it. I think
I don't mind if Labour win it. I'll tell you why. Because as we said earlier, Starmer getting kicked out.
Yes.
Because I think he needs to be taught a lesson. He needs to have that smile wiped off his face. Now that he's worked out that if he smiles, people might not be so horrible to him. And give Burnham a go. It'll be even worse. And then hopefully it'll be so bad that we'll get a general election before the end of next year.
I don't think we disagree on this. That won't happen. I think they'll go right to the end because they have the numbers to do it. I think what's more likely is actually they just follow the Tories and they used to get Burnham and get someone else. That's the pattern in British politics now, because we're in crisis.
But then you get all these Westminster sort of wallies, as I call them, talking about how, is the country becoming ungovernable? It's not ungovernable. But it's just full of people who don't know what they're bloody well doing.
From the establishment class, from the ruling class, it is, because they're not capable of taking any tough decisions. All of this weakness.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's ungovernable.
No.
It means they can't govern it.
They can't.
It's not the same thing.
No, not the same thing.
Is it?
No.
Fascinating. I love talking to you. William Clouston, ladies and gentlemen, very intelligent man. Far too intelligent for this show, this has to be said. Anyway, listen, coming up, we've got another intelligent man, Ralph Schulhammer, coming up. He'll tell us what he makes of this ridiculous infestation, if you like, of Western Europe and why it's all gone horribly wrong. But first, I think time for Fiona MacLeod in the red dress.
Morning all, I'm Fiona MacLeod. Eddie has taken a break today. He's gone to Stratford-upon-Avon to brush up on the Bard. I love it when he does poetry. Britain's been absolutely roasting under a record-breaking May heatwave. 35 degrees Celsius in London, smashing all-time highs. Meanwhile, a major report drops revealing there's 1 million young people not in education, employment or training, heading towards 1.25 million and costing £125 billion a year. In politics, Keir Starmer's still fending off Tony Blair's latest helpful intervention, abandon net zero, cozy up to Trump, while Nigel Farage and Reform keep gaining ground. Phones are allegedly being hacked by Russians, and the Housing Ombudsman warns of simmering anger over terrible living conditions. That's your news. See you later, alligators.
Yeah, Christa Berg, indeed. Yeah, good song that. Thank you very much indeed, Fiona. We'll hear from you again very soon. Coming up, Nunziata Rees-Mogg is going to be here. Liz Barclay's here. Philip Kisley as well, and Bishop Kai Dewar, our favourite bishop, and he'll be giving us a bit of a sermon for Sunday as well. And Simon Calvert, who apparently is also involved in the Christian world of in some way, shape or form. We'll come to that in a minute. Let's talk now, though, to Ralph Schulhammer to find out what's going on in this part of the world and in Western Europe in general. Ralph, very good morning to you, sir.
Hey, Mike, good to see you. How you doing?
I'm very well, very well. How are things in your part of the world?
Well, quite good. As you can see, I ran into a tree just recently, but otherwise things are fine.
Was it disguised as something else? You didn't see it?
No, I'll be completely honest, I don't remember. But that's a story. That's the story for behind the paywall.
Oh, okay. All right. Well, we'll have to get that story off you at some point. We have got, I suppose, I don't know how I would describe it for you, a sort of international crisis going on. Nobody seems to know where the world is at the moment. Everybody I speak to says, we're not really sure what's happening. You know, we don't know whether there's going to be peace in the Middle East. We don't really know whether Trump is going to bomb Iran. We don't really know whether or not Israel's going to, indict Netanyahu. We don't really know who's going to be running France or Germany or Spain, where there seems to be a bit of an uprising at the moment against the current government. It's all a bit weird, isn't it?
Well, before we start, I'm sure you have you already talked about Tony Blair and the piece that the Tony Blair Institute published a couple of days ago?
We have, but we can continue to talk about it, yeah. Because, it's a return of Tony Blair, like the ghost of Christmas past.
Yeah, I mean, as I said, I'm not the biggest fan of Tony Blair, but one cannot deny that at his time he was a shrewd, political operative. And when I read this piece, and he writes, I mean, these are his words, but everybody can find it, that we need cheap, not clean energy. That everything, but I have the quote directly here, that whatever it takes has to be done to solve the illegal immigration issue. Yeah. I mean, look at that. I mean, he basically sounds like the AFD or Le Pen or or Restore or Reform. I mean, he's kind of circumventing it a little bit and says, only illegal migrant. But that you see that direction of the journey, that there are apparently now people in the mainstream, if you want, that say, you know what, maybe those supposedly far right guys were actually right. I mean, I think it was Margaret Thatcher who said, what was it? You create the conditions where the wrong people are forced to do the right thing. I think it was Milton Friedman, actually, not Margaret Thatcher. And I believe this is a little bit slowly and hopefully not too slow that's happening, that people who have told us for years that the right has no solutions, the right got everything wrong, they don't know what they're talking about. And now you have the Tony Blair Institute come out and basically publish a piece that sounds like the party program of, as I said, whether it's Restore, Reform, the AFD, the Freedom Party, you name it. So I think we are slowly, and look at the success of your show, Mike. I think we are slowly but surely taking over the mainstream. Now, this is going to be a tough fight, and you can already sense keyword Germany, where they say maybe we should give people who live for 5 years in Germany the right to vote in federal elections. Right? So there is a counter push as well. But as I always say, I think it is 5 minutes to 12. But it's not 5 minutes past 12. And you can see all over the continent and in the UK, I think there is a counter movement growing. Now, hopefully we'll grow quick enough and get into power, not just into office quickly enough. But maybe there is some, as you said, we live in interesting times. Things are changing very quickly. And maybe for once, they will change into a direction that is a good one.
Well, we would like to say that, but unfortunately Britain is kind of dragging its heels, where if it's 5 to 12 in Europe, in the UK, it's sort of quarter to 12 because they're 10 minutes behind. Because we seem to have been infested, if you like, with this Labour Party, mantra. We got Andy Burnham, for example, writing in response to Tony Blair today in the Times. He's written a not quite as long an essay, but something like an 1,500-word essay for the Times, in which he says, in sort of support of what you've just mentioned there, that basically 40 years of neoliberalism has ruined Britain. And you go, well, that's fine, Andy, but for 35 of those 40 years, you were actually in government or in senior positions in the shadow government. And so, if neoliberalism has ruined Britain, you've been responsible for it.
Yeah, and it's an empty term. I mean, I don't know Andy Burnham, but that's a moronic argument. We have the same in Austria and in Germany. But I mean, look, for example, at the direction of government debt. Look at the direction of government involvement in the economy. I mean, what exactly was neoliberal about this? And again, I'm the last one to defend neoliberalism. Don't get me wrong. I think there is a role for the government and for the state to be played in infrastructure, in industrial policy. But the idea that like there was this kind of new form of Manchester capitalism burning through the UK over the last 40 years is completely absurd. I mean, the big problem in the UK is not that there was, for example, when you look at building things, whether it's a power plant, whether it's a bridge or something, that this happened too fast, it happened too slowly, or not at all. I mean, trying to build a railway in the UK or in continental Europe is basically impossible these days. I mean, if you would, if you could get all these old guys out of their grave, kind of the Palmerstons, the Great Britain in the 19th century, and you would tell them it takes, I don't know, £2 million to build some stairs up to a subway station, they would think you're completely insane.
Yeah. Absolutely right, and yet on a much more basic level, and we spoke about this story very much today. I don't know whether you've seen it, about the guy who was murdered by a Sikh. Who the police decided that when he was stabbed, they should actually, because he was white, put handcuffs on him and make sure that he didn't do any harm to anyone, even though he was actually the victim of the terrible crime. The guy who has been convicted of his killing, Henry Nowak is his name, he was stabbed 5 times with a ceremonial Sikh knife by this guy Vikram Digwar. But because Vikram Digwar told the police that he had been racially abused, they took his side, even as this guy was dying and drowning in his own blood. And that tells you more about Britain, I think, than anything that Andy Burnham says or anything that Tony Blair says.
No, I think it tells you that, again, not just in the UK, there is a problem with structural racism in at least in parts of the police, but it's not going the direction that we have been told by the media that it is going. Yeah. I mean, I know we talk about this on your show many times, but there is obvious, and we had similar cases in continental Europe as well. If there is a crime that involves somebody with a migrant background, or think about the grooming gangs and something, there is a tendency to cover these things up. And what happened to Henry Nowak was, in a sense, kind of the worst of all these instances. So this idea that you better let somebody die than appear racist, of course, turned into a form of racism in itself. I mean, I think this is very, very hard to deny at this point, but it's very odd. I mean, that you weaponize institutions against the native population of a country, in a sense. I'm slightly exaggerating here, but you know what I mean. It's a very odd thing. And I want to add some other anecdote to this. But this is so absurd. There was this recent, I forgot, was it in the Times or in some newspaper, that a story about the last indigenous people of Europe. And this was about some, I don't know, some in Finland, some, nomadic tribe, doesn't matter. But the point is, apparently, the English are not native to England, and the Germans are not native to Germany. And you know why I find this so absurd? If you look at, the Maori in New Zealand, the Maori came to New Zealand in the 12th, 13th century. So Germany has been German, and I would argue that the Britain has been British for longer than the Maoris have been in New Zealand. But somehow they are indigenous people, but the English and the Scots and the Austrians and the Germans are not. So they don't, or let's say the opinion makers, they don't even grant us the right to our own land. So a lot of the things that are being said on the right, that maybe they're sometimes said in a somewhat, provocative way, but I would argue that in essence, they are correct. There is this idea that everybody in this world has a home country, has a native soil, except Europeans. Yes. Except Europeans. We're the only ones who don't have this. This is absurd, and I'm glad there is movement against it.
Well, I'm glad there is as well, but I'm not sure it's not too late and too little as well, because, I mean, I was just saying in the last segment, talking to William Clouston, 40% of people born in Britain now have got a foreign parent. 40%. That's a big number.
That is a big number, right? And something needs to happen. I think, the concept of remigration will also gain traction in the UK. the one thing, and I want to end on a somewhat more optimistic note, is there are also, I mean, I don't live in Britain, but I would count myself among them. There are people who came to the UK who genuinely love the UK, right?
Yeah.
Of course, they're not ethnically English, but I think they want to be, right? So there's a strong desire for them to integrate. Not every single one who was born to a migrant parent automatically is, hostile towards British culture. So I think that's a very, very important thing to keep in mind. So not everything is let us not become too, doomery in the outlook. I think there are still people. I mean, you have me on your show. I'm not English, I'm not British, but obviously I have strong affection to you, your country, and your culture, and I want to see it continue.
That has always been my argument, Ralph. I've spoken many times about growing up in London, which was very much a city full of people from other places, which was brilliant, and I loved it. And I lived in New York when I lived also amongst loads and loads of people from different countries, and it was fantastic. But it's different now. This is not the London that I grew up in, where you would have Italian restaurants and cool Greek people that you would meet and interesting people from all sorts of corners of the earth, right? Australians, in Earl's Court and all of that. But now it's not like that. Now it's siloed. Now it's kind of ghettoized, and now you find yourself in places where only certain types of people live, and it's not London
it's been
anymore.
too much. No, you're right. It's been too much. And I think this should be the argument. This is my main criticism when it comes to Tony Blair, right? When he takes the somewhat cop out of talking about illegal immigration. Illegal migration has been too much. There needs to be a moratorium, right, for all of Europe, at least for some migration. Again, I think if somebody from Ireland moves to England, that's not really a problem. And I would assume, I hope your English viewers are not going to be mad at me for saying this, but I think migration from Afghanistan, from Pakistan, from Somalia, from I guess partially also from India, this is something that has to be reduced, because the point is not just economics. I know that particular Indian migrants are economically very successful and good for them, but the English want England to be English and not Indian, even if the GDP is slightly higher.
Yeah, so but also the Indian immigration that we used to get, like, for example, the East African Asians who came from Uganda during Idi Amin's time, they were all business people. They came and they started running post offices, pharmacies. They were salt of the earth, and they were actually conservatives as well, which was interesting. Whereas now, when you wander around London and see the kind of people who have come here from India, they're not those people anymore. They're the people from the streets of Delhi that I've seen when I was in Delhi. And they're not coming here with qualifications. They're not coming here with great ideas of how they can run business. They're coming here to work in low-paid, very low-skilled jobs. And that's a very different picture altogether.
No, that's exactly. And I think that's a bit the mistake, and it's the same in the United States. I understand, I don't approve of it, but I could understand for a while the temptation to more or less import a new class of servants. Has been very tempting, but I think the time for that is over. Like I said, this is we know since 1968. My cutoff point is always Enoch Powell, because he was like the first one with great approval also by the British people, at least what we know from reactions at the time, who said, okay, this is not going to end well. This was 60 years ago. Okay, 57 years ago, but he was in essence, he was right, and now we have to reverse it. I think we have also to speak openly about it. And I hate this. It's about illegal migration. It's the economy. No, the point is we want England to remain English. We want Ireland to remain Irish. We want Germany to remain German. This is, to be very clear, this is not hatred against anybody else. If you love your own country, does not mean you hate anybody else's. So listen, I want Indians to prosper in India. I want Pakistanis to prosper in Pakistan. I want Afghans to prosper in Afghanistan. I wish them all the best from the bottom of my heart. But I also wish the same to the English in England, and there's nothing wrong with that.
No, exactly right. Completely right. Great to see you, Ralph, as ever. Thank you very much indeed. And
thanks,
of course,
Mike. Thank you so much.
We can only promise that you will be back, right?
I will be back next Friday, and I might be in London very soon. So I hope that I can join you. I hope that I can join you.
You must come and see the studio. You must come and see the studio. Yeah, absolutely. We'd love to have you. Brilliant. Great to see you. Ralph, thank you very much indeed. Ralph Schulhammer.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you so much.
He will be back, of course. Top man. Very top man. We've got a poll, by the way, out there at the moment, which is which politician should be tried for treason first? The list is Blair, Starmer, Hermer or Mandelson. Mandelson coming in at 4%, bringing up the rear, strangely enough.
Yeah, I'm surprised.
Lord Hermer, 7%, Blair, 33%, and surprisingly, I think, Keir Starmer winning with 56%, because he has ruined his country.
Mike, just got a quick
comment?
Oh, go on. Ralphie Schlonghammer. Best porn name ever. Yeah, thank you for that. That's a shocker.
Can we just go through a couple of super chats quickly?
Yeah, let's do it. What else you got? This one from Hev Ship. Starmer is Mome Gullcatcher. Gullcatcher? Yeah. Gullcatcher's quite a good insult, isn't it? Cindy Smith says, Mike, you are comedy gold. Thank you. Well, we try. And Cookie Boy. Burgess and McLean had to flee the UK just for spying. Yeah, that's going back a few years, isn't it? And Charles says, Elon Musk has the right to have a UK passport. His father is British. I've spoken to his father, actually. I'm not sure he is he? I thought he was South African. Mulliner sends a super chat. Thank you very much indeed. Last one from Tony. Supermarkets and other shops have more and more self-checkouts. They don't need to employ the young. We are the staff. Yeah, I mean, I know that's a problem. People say that there used to be the jobs that you used to be able to get were in supermarkets or in shops, and now there aren't so many of those jobs available. And that's true. But it's not just that. It's the fact that there's very little appetite from the employer's point of view to hire a load of kids that they don't need because they have to pay more in national insurance on their behalf. They have to pay them more money because of the minimum wage being raised. And the Labour government has basically set up a situation where it's much, much more, tiresome, if you like, for businesses to run recruitment drives and to hire more and more young people that they don't really need because they don't have any skills. And that's the problem. So we've got all these kids, we've got 1 million kids now who are not in education or training or in any sort of form of activity. So they're literally on the dole, doing nothing. That can't be good for them, and it certainly isn't good for the economy. And it certainly isn't good for the exchequer because we're then paying them to do nothing, which isn't good, is it? Now, coming up, we've got a whole bunch of different guests for you. Bishop Kai Dewar will be here, Simon Calvert, Annunziata Rees-Mogg, Liz Barclay's here as well in the studio. Philip Kisley, I think, is next, though. Yeah. Philip, a very good morning to you, sir.
Hi, Mike. How are you? All right?
Yeah, very well, very well. I hope you've enjoyed the week. I'm still slightly perturbed that everyone in Westminster seems to have gone, oh, isn't it great to have Tony Blair back? Isn't he such a wonderful man? And what a great idea he's got that, the country's gone to hell in a handcart and it's nothing to do with him, but he now knows how to fix it.
It's just insane. I mean, I had my own meltdown about this earlier in the week, actually, because on one level, in terms of what he's saying now, you kind of say, yeah, I agree with Blair, and then you say to yourself, oh my God, I agree with Tony Blair, because he was the architect of all of the stuff, all of the troubles we have now, pretty much all of them. You can trace right back to Tony Blair. The mass migration, absolutely. The desire to just obliterate the culture. You can trace back, Islamism to mass immigration. The two are inextricably linked. And again, obliterating the culture. And identity politics as well. So the three big things we massively suffer from all come from the Tony Blair administration. And it just feels as though, like I say, he's the architect of everything terrible that's happening at the moment. So to have the brass neck to come out and what was it, nearly a 6,000 word essay. I mean, nobody needs a 6,000 word essay. Blair. That's the last thing.
I mean, William Clouston just told me he read it twice. Incredibly.
Say that again.
I said, William Clouston just told me from the SDP that he read it twice. I was like, you've obviously got more time in your hands than I have.
No, but I mean, we see the massive fallout from Blair's administration, and the big story of the week is that Henry Nowak, terrible. The poor kid died in handcuffs, choking on his own blood, while a cop was listening to a murderer calling the kid a racist. You know, that really, that tableau of British life really sums up where we are. You can trace that to the Blair administration. I don't think before then people weren't just shouting racist, racist, racist everywhere. It came after that because all of those ideas coalesced together and made us poisonous. You know what I mean? You have to think about the copper there. He must have been indoctrinated in meetings, away days, development days, which focused absolutely and totally on anti-racism. And this is the manifestation of it. This is what happens. This is the action. Everything is racist. Is there a murder? Is there an attempted murder? Is there a stabbing? That doesn't matter. Racism is what counts. You know what I mean? And it feels as though we're in crisis, and it's not massively obvious what we can do about it. I mean, you can scream and shout and you can say we must do this and we must do that, but it's so deep, it's so entrenched, it's so systemic that they really are complex problems, and they will take a lot of unknotting.
Yeah, absolutely right. And I mean, but the thing is, it's the readiness, it seems to me, which is part. I mean, this is a theme of mine, which I go on about all the time. The readiness of the kind of Westminster bubble brigade to kind of lionise people like Tony Blair, as you say, as if they didn't create any of this, as if they're sort of suddenly speaking out of the blue this brilliant sort of essay that nobody's thought of. It's the bleeding obvious. And I was saying earlier as well that we've now got this culture where people just keep saying, "Oh, we didn't know." I mean, the police in the case of Henry Nowak are saying, "Oh, we didn't realise." The Sikh man who had the ceremonial knife lied to us at the scene. It's like, well, that's your job. Your job is to figure out what's going on. Keir Starmer says, "I didn't know that Peter Mandelson was lying to me." John Swinney this week has said that he didn't realise that the extent of the chicanery going on in the Nicola Sturgeon household because they didn't tell him. And you go, well, have you got any kind of critical faculties at all that you could use possibly to work out what's really going on?
I mean, yeah, part of the problem is that Westminster is the problem. If they look at Tony Blair and it's like looking in a mirror. So they will, the opportunity to be willfully obtuse and say, we didn't know any of this. Where has it come from? Oh, my God. They do live in a bubble. You and I know Westminster incredibly well. It is a bubble, but they know damn well what they've done. They've created all of these problems. Now, it's in their nature to deny everything, and self-preservation and survival is right. DNA. That's what they're about. So what we need to understand as a society and as a country is that they will lie, they will dissemble, they will do absolutely anything to save their own skin. Yeah. And we have a culture of gaslighting, don't we? So this is just gaslighting. I mean, you'd have to be an absolute moron to believe Nicola Sturgeon when, or the guy's buying Jags at 50 odd grand. He's got a motorhome in his mum's garage. He's even buying a pencil sharpener for 125 quid. I mean, who in the world wakes up in the morning and think, do you know what's missing in my life, Mike? Yeah. I was going to message you this morning, actually. I've not got 125 quid pencil sharpener. I need that. That's something that I really need. So it's the purity of greed on a massive scale, but these people are gaslighting us, and we have, as I say, a culture of gaslighting, don't we? This is how it works. We live in a culture that says diversity is our strength. No, it's not. Ask Henry Nowak's family. You ask them if diversity is their strength. And it isn't just the attack, it's the ramifications of the attack. It's the fact that the police are powerless to do anything about it in the face of the word racism. So this gaslighting just filters right down through the culture, and it paralyzes. This is what I'm saying. It's so deep and complex. It paralyzes us. What we don't need to do necessarily is just focus on single aspects of racism. What we have to do is focus on this culture of fantasy and gaslighting and colluding in this massive big lie. And that That is the really difficult thing.
But I mean, if it's taken, I don't know, 20 years for this whole kind of edifice to be constructed, how long will it take to deconstruct it, to dismantle it? Will it take 20 years?
Well, I don't know. It's really difficult to say because things can accelerate exponentially. 20 years ago, I probably wouldn't have predicted that, or maybe 25 years ago, let's say, I wouldn't have predicted that social media would have the massive impact that it has done. So that has changed things massively. And on the one hand, you can say it's been absolutely terrible, and we can look through the social media activism and see how catastrophic it's been. So you have Me Too, you have BLM, you have trans, and now you have Hamas and the environment. That's been catastrophic, especially for young people, because they are essentially indoctrinated into a mob mentality. But also it's been really good, and this is perhaps a really good example. The independent media has been good, and people who wouldn't ordinarily have voices, or who would just be attacked from the mainstream, now can speak, have massive platforms. So I think it's down to this, to certainly down to the alternative media, but I think it's down to bravery from individuals to say that, and it's a very simple thing, it's to say we will not accept this anymore, and there will be consequences. You have to be careful about what the consequences are. You don't want to be cancelled, so you've got no over your head and you've got no income. But by the same token, you have to be able to push back, and I think this must happen in the workplace, where the coppers involved in the Henry Nowak thing, there's a clear case there of anti-racism indoctrination in the workplace must have had an impact. So what we can do is we can say, look, this is harmful. This is obviously harmful. We will not participate in it. And it's happened in some respects with Stonewall. They've been kicked out of the institutions now, and good riddance to them. But I think it's down to us. And I think it is down to bravery, and it's down to the individual. And I think in lots of ways, I think that's happening.
Yes, I think that's right. Philip, good to see you. We've got to run because we're running late, and I've just been told we've actually also got an extra guest that we didn't know we had, Ben Pyle, who's not on the list. But anyway, we'll get to that. Thank you very much indeed. Have a great weekend. Philip Kisley there talking absolute sense, as ever. But Liz Barkley's here to talk to us about what's going on with kids not being able to find jobs, small business and all the rest of it. Lots of things to talk about with her. And as I say, we've got an Unziata Rees-Mogg coming up, Simon Calvert. Also, I've got a message for Dan Wootton, which is going to be coming up in the next hour as well, because he had a go at me yesterday, which I was quite surprised about, which, of course, is entirely up to him to do. We'll get to that. But first, I guess some news with Fiona, shall we, in the red dress?
Good morning, all. I'm Fiona MacLeod. Eddie has taken a break today. He's gone to Stratford-upon-Avon to brush up on the Bard. I love it when he does poetry. Britain's been absolutely roasting under a record-breaking May heatwave. 35 degrees Celsius in London, smashing all-time highs. Meanwhile, a major report drops revealing there's 1 million young people not in education, employment or training, heading towards 1.25 million and costing £125 billion a year. In politics, Keir Starmer's still fending off Tony Blair's latest helpful intervention, abandon net zero, cozy up to Trump, while Nigel Farage and Reform keep gaining ground. Phones are allegedly being hacked by Russians, and the Housing Ombudsman warns of simmering anger over terrible living conditions. That's your news. See you later, alligators.
I mean, some people might say it's a slightly inappropriate dress to be wearing while reading the news. I don't know about you, Pooch, but
better than being topless.
Well, it's certainly better than that. Yes, absolutely. But I mean, I'll take under advisement. People can suggest perhaps whether she should be dressed differently for the next news. Good. No, he's happy. Pooch is happy with it. He's not gonna, he's not an easy man to change his mind. It has to be said. Anyway, not to worry. Coming up, as I said, we've got a meltdown to do on Dan Wootton. And Unziata Rees-Mogg is here. Simon Calvert, Bishop Kai Dewar as well with his Sunday sermon. But right now, Liz Barkley's here, who's going to be talking to us about business and about young people not being able to find any work. Liz, nice to see you.
And you.
How are you?
I'm very well, and
Good.
you've got a wonderful studio
It's
here.
nice, isn't it?
It's lovely.
We're very happy with it.
Good.
We've only been here a few months, and we're about to expand, and we're about to kind of start doing new shows and other things as well. So actually, in bucking the trend of the economy,
You are a small business.
we are a small
growing.
business which is actually growing.
And that's good news.
It is good news, but it's difficult.
Very.
It really is. The government doesn't make it easy, does it?
No.
It gives you all kinds of hoops to jump through. I got an email just the other day from my accountant saying, "Oh, now that we've got the new rules from the HMRC, you're going to have to kind of keep better records, and you're going to have to, file something every 15 minutes, to tell us what you're doing." And it's like, just leave me alone. Let me make some money. I don't mind paying some tax. But why are you making me do all of these kind of ridiculous administrative things that it's not what I do.
Isn't there that famous quote that said, "Tell me how much you're earning, send tax."
Right, yeah, exactly.
And I get what you're saying, but in defence of the micro businesses, I think part of the problem is that everything comes at once.
Yeah.
And the micro businesses don't have the scope. They're trying to run a business.
Yes.
And when you're trying to run a business, you're doing all the jobs yourself.
Yes.
So, and I think government does not understand that.
No.
I don't mean just the current government. I mean government for decades in the past.
No question.
I've not understood that a micro business is not a big business, only small.
No, of course. I mean, you've worked in different places and
Yes.
some governmental type scenarios, private individual cases as well. And when I speak to people in government and when I see some of the things that they say, and when you watch them on TV, they clearly don't get what it's like to run anything outside of the public sector, do they?
But my question is, and I've set up Business 111 for micro businesses because of this.
Yeah.
My question is, if you haven't lived it yourself, how can you write the policies that are appropriate for the micro business? And the biggest issue for me, and the one I really want to see, is I want to see proportionality.
Yes.
I want to see micro businesses treated differently from the big businesses of this world.
Yeah.
There's no point in building policies for Amazon and IBM
because they've
and
got
applying
hundreds
them
of people,
to you
haven't they? Yeah.
in a studio this size with one show.
Yeah, I mean, I used to work at News UK, right? Massive building in London Bridge, massive business, HarperCollins in there, the Times, The Sun, TalkSport, all of these, very successful organisations within one sort of umbrella organisation. And they've got lawyers, they've got HR departments, they've got,
of course.
All sorts of administrators
who can guide
to do
them
all of the
through.
things that they need to do. We're sitting here, it's me and Pooch, basically, helped now by Elena, who's come in, who's giving us a bit of a Russian feel. But, we're kind of like, you're literally like a hamster on a wheel going, you make sure we've got enough, I'll come in the morning and there's enough coffee. Or, have we got some water coming in? I mean, I was here the other day and the water guy arrived and Pooch rang me and said, "Oh, the water guy's here." And I went, "Oh, luckily I'm still here." And I let him in and he gave us the water,
I always remember one of the micro businesses I talked to a couple of years ago saying to me, "I've just got to stop this call. I have a pallet of materials arriving. I need to drive the forklift truck."
Yeah, right, exactly.
And he was the business owner. He had a few staff, but in his warehouse, one person had gone ill.
Yeah.
And of course, that's the other thing that happens. We've got huge sickness and absence in this country. We've got few jobs because the education system doesn't interact with industry in the first place to think about what are the jobs you're creating an education system for that young people will be able to get into in a few years' time.
And there's
when
that
they
balance
leave.
as well, isn't there, between workers' rights and sort of employers' rights, if you like. And it seems to me at the moment the workers' rights are sort of slightly in the wrong. The balance isn't quite right. There's workers' rights which are preventing employers from hiring them.
And yes, of course, but it's the small business they're preventing from hiring them. I talked to somebody yesterday. They contacted us at Business 111 and I said, "What is the issue that you're facing?" And she said, "We're already paying 30 grand a month more." Now, bear in mind, this is a small business with 7 people.
Right.
We're paying
That's
30.
a lot of money.
It's a lot of money. 30 grand a month more. Well, you can do the maths. And that is stopping us hiring the marketing person that we really need in order to grow the business.
Yes.
And this is where we're at. But also small businesses are terrified of getting it wrong. And this government has quite rightly said we need to reduce the admin. roundabout business by 25%.
Yeah.
Well, that means admin gets less, but where's that admin? It's mostly in the tax system.
Yeah.
We need a fairer tax system that allows your micro businesses to grow to a reasonable size until before they start paying tax.
I hear people talking all the time about, where's the incentive to do the next step, to take the next...
And there isn't. And there are thresholds that stop that as well.
Right. And so
for instance, the VAT threshold being 90 grand, lots of businesses are telling me that they're simply not growing to 90 grand, so they don't have to get themselves into the VAT system.
Right. And some of them will deliberately not do that, right?
Exactly.
So you're reducing the kind
That's what I'm saying.
likelihood of a tax base.
Yes.
And so in the end, it's a sort of self-harming episode by the government, isn't it?
Absolutely. But as far as young people are concerned, and you've been talking about that this morning in quite a lot of detail, those million young people want to work.
Yeah.
The main thing they're saying is we've put out hundreds of applications and we're getting absolutely no response back. But what the employers are saying is we're scared to employ the young person because if we take a more experienced person, they will start being more productive for us much quicker because they've got the skills. So we're not teaching the man to fish.
Right.
We're feeding them fish.
Yes.
And we've got to learn through the education system to teach people that young people are saying, we don't know what work means.
Yeah.
So there's a role here for insurance companies because insurance companies are not insuring employers to take on young people on work experience. We all need to work together. The education system needs to be revamped and reset to be giving people the skills to work. And we need employers to have much more engagement in the education system to say, hey guys, these are the skills we're going to need when we, in 5 years' time. That's getting harder though.
In schools as well, where they could do a better job maybe of preparing children for work in the sense that, again, as a parent, I've had these conversations with my own kids, but also, they don't get taught the kind of practicalities of life, They don't get taught, this is what you have to do about thinking about buying a house or getting a mortgage or, saving money or getting an ISA. These are all things they don't know.
One of the best ways of teaching that is through enterprise skills, not just financial education.
Yeah.
Because I worked with Scottish Enterprise at one point and we went into schools and we set them challenges, set up your own business, run it. And the young people that were coming out of that system were excited about the fact that they could run their own business.
Right.
What I would like to see is something equivalent to the Enterprise Allowance Scheme coming back. You may remember that in the 80s. People were given a startup loan and £40 a week in order to build their own businesses. There are some still going from, somebody else contacted me at Business 111 the other day and said, look, I started my business as a plumber under the Enterprise Allowance Scheme. And I'm still going. I'm still in business. And quite a lot of big businesses built beyond that because the micro businesses are the big businesses of the future.
Are. And also people don't realise what role they play in the economy. We've far more small businesses amounting to an awful lot of money for the exchequer. Over the
50%.
Yeah, absolutely. And so far more people are involved in running them, far more people are involved in expanding them, sometimes contracting them as well.
Unfortunately, at the moment, a lot of them are not just contracting, but they're quietly closing.
They're closing down.
Especially on high streets, etc.
Well, if you look around the high streets, even in London, there are empty shops. And where I live, there's a shopping centre which used to have fairly bustling kind of crowd. There's a big supermarket there, but there's at least, I would say, a third of the shop fronts are vacant currently, and nobody's filling them.
But the other question is, how much social value are we losing? It's not just the economy that's losing out, it's local communities. Are the kids' playgrounds still open? No, because the sponsor would have been a small business. That small business is closed. That value is huge. And I think part of the problem is that government doesn't understand that social value comes from the micro business end.
Yes.
And we can't measure it. It's so hard to measure. And if you can't measure, then people don't believe that.
And do you have any
that value.
Running sort of conversations at the moment with the government in terms of on a sort of a day-to-day or a week-to-week basis? And if so, what can you tell them, and what do they say to you?
what I tell them is not always necessarily what they either hear or act on.
And
I have been trying that for quite a long time, but I'm not going to give up.
Are they receptive or are they not really receptive?
Yes, I do. I talk to DBT. We've been talking about the new rules around late payments that are going through Parliament. They were introduced in the House of Lords last week. There will be a second reading on the 9th of June. What people need to understand, though, is that the draft bill as written that will give a maximum 60-day payment terms in contracts, there will be exemptions, there will be debates, there will be discussion, there will probably be amendments. And it takes a long time for those to go through the parliamentary process. So nothing changes immediately. And late payments is one of those big issues that's really driving people's cash flow down to the floor. And if your cash flow is not flowing quickly enough through your business, that is another thing that's resulting in businesses
trouble, isn't it?
closing.
Because again, just from our own experience, is that I wish we could have late payment, so that we wouldn't have to pay people. But you pay rent for the office, you pay rent for you pay your business rates. You don't get to pay them late. Nobody lets you.
No,
but
you don't.
People
but
who
if
owe
you're,
you money
but if,
apparently can wait as long as you like.
Oh, they can't. They shouldn't.
No.
But they do, and that means that you're in a very difficult position trying to pay your own suppliers.
Right.
And so if you're in a supply chain like that, the supply chain frays, and if it frays at one point, the whole supply chain is fraying. And that's what's happening in the construction sector. It's going through an absolutely torrid time. There are no houses being built because there are no small house builders anymore. 40% of houses in the UK used to be built by the small house builders.
Well, this is what I hear all the time. Whenever
reduced to 10% now.
Whenever politicians talk about, we're going to build 150,000 houses.
We haven't got the
all
skills.
I know is that people will say to me, well, who's going to build those houses?
We haven't got the
We don't have
skills.
the people, we don't have the money, we don't
have the small house builders. And the small businesses are the ones that teach the skills to young people coming through. But there's another issue here. The careers advisors don't know anything about construction. So they don't know the vast range of jobs options that young people might be able to apply for and train for. And young people think it's only about carrying bricks. So there's a big disconnect. The construction industry is absolutely crying out for talent. It could employ all of those 1.1 million small young people.
Well, that's a great.
But it desperately needs the skills. Yeah, but you can't create a bricklayer in, not even 6 months. It takes a long time to train up, and we've really lost the investment in skills. So
have you got any hope that the government will suddenly, see the wood for the trees or whatever it is, and they'll understand what you're trying to say to them and say, okay, maybe Liz is right. Let's do this and let's try and improve, because they talk about, the economy growing. They want it to grow, but they're not doing anything to make it grow.
But I have to keep consistently saying the same thing over and over again, and you have to help me. So I need people to be coming up with ideas. The government's very short of ideas, and what they have been doing is being seen to do small things, so they're seen to be doing something. There's no big radical thinking around.
No big idea.
How do we get the skills into the economy that we absolutely need, without which we're not going to be able to fill the jobs that are coming up. And the fact that technology is moving so quickly, of course, makes it really difficult. How do we know what is coming up? But please, first of all, don't listen to me, don't listen to you, listen to the micro businesses, get them in round the table. And of course, that's another problem, because you're so busy running your micro business, you haven't got time to go and talk to the government. We need a much, much bigger conversation on what is required. The small businesses will tell you what they need. They'll tell you where the pain points are and the bottlenecks. Listen to them. Have them round the table. I emailed a very eminent politician the other day and said to him, you're having this round table and every one of your speakers is from a big business. I said you need the micro business people there, and I'm happy to volunteer. I haven't had a response yet.
No, funnily enough. Well, I mean, listen, it's a great mission that you're on. So let's hope that, and if there is anything we can do, we'll do it. But meanwhile, I just more or less would prefer the government just to stay the hell out of the business that I'm in, and let me get on with it.
And that is what a lot of micro businesses ask for. Stay out of it. Let us get on with it until we're at the point where we can afford to pay tax. That's what we will do. But then we get a crisis like COVID, and there are businesses that don't get help. And they say, hang on a minute, we didn't want you to interfere then, but we do want you to interfere now. So we've got to have a much better understanding of each other and how the processes work.
Okay. Liz Barclay, thank you very much indeed.
Thank you for having me.
Former Small Business Commissioner, of course. And if you're running a business, if you're watching this, you're probably only watching it with one eye because you've got something else to do. But yeah, it's a big no-brainer, isn't it? You know, the country runs on the money that is made by small business, and that's where the government should be. And they should be giving us the opportunity as small business owners to make as much money as possible, to employ more people, to pay tax, yes, of course, but not to be punished for, you know, being a success, which is sometimes how it feels. Anyway, Liz, good to see you. Thank you very much indeed. We've got so much more to come between now and 10 o'clock. We've got Simon Calvert, Bishop Kai Dewar will be here. Annunziata Rees-Mogg is with us. Do we have any super chats or anything to do? Or should we go to Annunziata right now? Couple of super chats. Shall we have a look and see what people are saying? Let us go. Hev Chip says, Pooch, look up the definition of mome gullcatcher. It sounds like that's probably something you shouldn't do. Hawk says, Keir Starmer, he knew he was going to be crap. Very likely why he had special measures to protect his pension. Yeah, I mean, you know, he's one of the few people that's got his own pension written into law, believe it or not. I can't breathe. And no, it was not a drug-fueled Floyd. It was poor Nowak, says Charles. Yeah, I mean, that's a terrible story, that. And Mike, a Jamaican friend of mine's daughter is learning business studies at the age of 13, Mr. Woodward says. Well, good. Business studies, you know, never too young to learn, as far as that's concerned. Anything else? No, that's it. All right, let's go to Annunziata Rees-Mogg, shall we? Annunziata, a very good morning to you.
Good morning, Mike. How are you?
I'm very well indeed. You're looking very sprightly and ready for the day's action.
Well, I know we're all meant to be completely terrified of a few days of sunshine, but personally, I love it. I think we all feel happier, more alive, and it's good for the soul.
It is good for the soul. And also, I mean, I can't stand all of this kind of, you know, nanny statism. We made fun of it earlier in the week. You know, with Stella Creasy came out and said, you know, please make sure that you're hydrated everywhere you go and make sure you've got plenty of water to take with you on the train. And it's like, look, we've lived quite a long time without any interference of the government. Thank you very much indeed. And I think we can probably manage for another few years without actually managing to kill ourselves.
Yeah, I mean, of course I tell my children to take water with them, but I don't need anyone to tell me. Here we go. Water, yeah. It's good for you.
There you go. It is good for you. Absolutely right. Now, we seem to be having a bit of an interesting kind of retro conversation this morning about Tony Blair coming back into the public space and making out as if, you know, it was all down to him that we had a really, really successful government back in the early part of this century. And now that he's no longer in charge, it's all gone to hell in a handcart. He's quite a good salesman, isn't he, Tony Blair? But I think most of us will remember that actually it wasn't that great when he was in charge, and many of the things that we now suffer from were created by him, not least mass immigration.
Absolutely, Mike. He is a fantastic salesman. I mean, he got elected in '97 with Things Can Only Get Better and Cool Britannia and things we could feel optimistic about, things we could get behind. And that has been missing from politics ever since. And yeah, he was quite successful economically for the first couple of years, first 3 years, when he followed conservative spending plans. And then he and Gordon Brown decided to let their more left-wing instincts kick in, and we got stealth tax after stealth tax. Every single one of Gordon Brown's budgets was about prudence that was the opposite of prudent. It was the same gaslighting as we've been seeing from Rachel Reeves and Keir Starmer, whereby you say one thing, you do the complete opposite and tell the public they're stupid if they don't believe you. He sold the gold. There were so many times that they tried to sign us up, and Tony Blair tried to sign us up, and Gordon Brown stopped us joining the euro, which would have been a complete disaster. And of course, because of his euro obsession, when there were 8 accession countries to the EU, we could have had a delay or a hard stop on allowing free movement of people. And Tony Blair said, no, let's open the floodgates. And he thought 30,000 people would come, and over 1 million did.
Yeah, I remember that.
That started our addiction to importing cheap labour and leaving Brits on benefits. And it's been downhill ever since. No one's managed to undo that, and the Tories should have done. But whoever does, it's going to be painful because it will mean that actual workers, Brits, have to have pay rises. And that's going to cost businesses and it's going to cost the government. And that's why they haven't done it. But we've got to, because we need to look after our country. I find this rebirth of Tony Blair, or as I have started calling him, Sir Tory Blair, absolutely extraordinary that he now seems to be to the right of not only his own party, but quite a lot of people in other parties. Very sensibly so. A lot of what he said was very sensible. That we should stop illegal immigration at any cost. The NHS does need not just reform, but complete restructure of the entire health service. But do we believe him, or is he still the salesman he always was? I think the timing is interesting. Andy Burnham lays into the last 40 years of governance in this country. That's a direct dig at Tony Blair. And Tony Blair comes back and has a few digs at Andy Burnham. It's Labour washing their laundry in public, isn't it?
So, and I mean, do you think then that Blair was responsible for bringing in this idea that, you know, we must import cheap labour because people in Britain don't want to do the jobs? Because we've now got, we were just talking to Liz Barkley there about 1 million young people who don't have a job, and many of them have never had a job. And you kind of go, I mean, I don't know about you, I'm sure you probably like me, I worked from about the age of 14. You can't do it now because they don't allow you to. It's against the law apparently to employ anybody under the age of 16. And I was working every Saturday and Sunday from 14, and that was a great thing.
It's very, very difficult. Actually, my 15-year-old has gone off to her holiday job this morning, and she will do another one this afternoon. She helps people. She's very horsey. She helps people in their yards. And there is no minimum wage for under 16s, which makes it quite entertaining what different people randomly decide that she's worth. I'm glad to say they tend to go above, not below, and take advantage. But I think that's very, very good. And at school, she is doing business studies. She really is getting an understanding of hard work paying. My she started when she was 6, she's now 8. 8-year-old picks fruit every summer. Apples, pears, blackberries, and takes them to a lady who makes jam and gets paid. She then has money in her pocket and understands the relationship between work and getting what you want. And I think that's absolutely crucial, and we have lost that. And Saturday jobs were a huge part of that. And children can't do them because, as I just discovered, my oldest one's school has work experience compulsory in June this year, and so many places cannot get insurance to have a 15-year-old on site. And that includes offices. I mean, one of my friends happens to be an interior designer. No, absolutely not allowed to have a 15-year-old around. You wouldn't have thought that was the most dangerous. She's not the builder decorator. She is literally the designer. So it's very difficult for small businesses to take the risk. It's very difficult for the young to get jobs. But I think with Tony Blair, yes, he imported cheap labour, but he changed our constitution. He ruined centuries of tradition around our legal system, getting rid of the law lords, putting in the Supreme Court, making the judiciary more political, and we're paying the price for that. He changed our democratic agreement by outsourcing anything he thought was vaguely unpopular or might be to a quango, and we've seen the ballooning of quangos ever since. And saw just this week the extra billions going to the environmental quangos under Ed Miliband. But it was Tony Blair who really, quangos already existed, but in a minor way, and he accelerated that and the removal of democratic answerability hugely. And he's got a lot to answer for. He's not taking responsibility. He's pointing out that it's gone wrong as though it was nothing to do with him.
Right. But that's the other thing that I find quite disturbing about the whole Westminster Bubble Brigade, as I call them, who kind of go... I mean, I've been talking about the stuff that Tony Blair wrote about pretty much for about the last 4 or 5 years. I mean, you and I probably had conversations around all of that stuff, right? And it's suddenly like, oh, Tony Blair's saying it, therefore we must listen and sit down and go, oh my God, isn't he clever? Isn't he smart? Isn't he like absolutely nailing it, you know, when nobody else is doing that? And is it because partly, I suppose, the paucity now exists of such talentless individuals in government that, you know, he looks like some kind of superhero, but he shouldn't, because, you know, we've all been doing it for a lot longer than he has.
Absolutely. I mean, this cabinet has no one in it who has experience of business, small or large.
No.
They've all come from either public sector or third sector jobs. And I think that leaves a gaping hole when it's actually businesses that are the engines of our economy, and they just don't understand them. But there is a large chunk of Labour who will always treat Tony Blair as the oracle, as the guru, because he is unquestionably the most successful Labour Prime Minister they've had. He did win 3 elections. Keir Starmer's not going to win 2. They've got no one with his salesman ability. They've got no one the public can tolerate, let alone get behind and support. And he does have some very valid points. So some of them I absolutely agreed with, and I'm firmly on the right. I am not some wishy-washy centrist. But his party should listen to him on those. And the fact that he's let his hair down in retirement, I think possibly does mean he's more honest. I think he was very honest about our relationship with America, for example, that we just don't have a choice. It is in our national interest to maintain good relationships with the US, whether it's Trump or anyone else. And navel gazing and ideology doesn't actually work in realpolitik.
It really doesn't. I don't know if you saw that message that just came up on the screen there from Chris, who apparently wants to marry you, wants you to marry him.
Sorry, Chris. Already taken.
Yeah. Well, listen, unless you want to go down the route of the Department for Work and Pensions, who have said this month that if you have another wife or perhaps another husband, you can actually get bigger, more benefits, which I couldn't quite believe. I thought it was some kind of April Fool's joke, but apparently, despite the fact that bigamy is illegal in this country, if you are in fact in receipt of more than one wife, you will get more benefits.
And over 70 grand for one bloke to look after his various wives. I think it's against British law, and we should stick to British law. We have always had a recognition that if you were married to more than one woman abroad, that both marriages are valid here. It is I do understand it is very difficult retrospectively if you allow someone to move here who's got 2, 3, 4 wives to say only one of them counts. Which one do you pick?
Right.
But I did have absolutely no hesitation in saying the British taxpayer should not be paying for that.
No, of course not. Absolutely ridiculous. I mean, it's a no-brainer, surely, to God. You don't go, well, I'm sorry that you've got so many women following you around. We'll just help to pay for them. Why would we?
No, and actually, I would also include in that the cousin marriage, the very close family marriages that we know statistically increase chances of all sorts of birth complications and lifelong disabilities.
And I think it's just been outlawed, has it not? In some, I think one of the Scandinavian countries, whether it's Norway or Sweden, I think, just this week has outlawed it and said this is not going to be allowed under our law.
I can see absolutely no argument for allowing that to continue. It's the NHS that, for those children's lives, has to pick up the bill. It's morally wrong. It was never banned in the UK because we never did it. And that's crucial, that we, under British law, you're allowed to do absolutely anything until the point at which it's banned. And things only get banned if they're seen as harmful in some way.
Right.
And because we never did it, it never got banned. It's now being done, and it must be.
Yes, I think that makes perfect sense. And Nunziata, great to see you. Thank you very much indeed. Enjoy the weekend. As Third Line says, one wife is hard enough. Yeah, I can't imagine why anyone would want more than one, to be honest. You know,
my husband would agree.
I'm sure he's a very fortunate man. Thank you very much indeed. Nunziata Rees-Mogg there speaking to us about all manner of things, including the idea that you shouldn't have more than one wife. I don't imagine, you know, I can't imagine why anybody would want more than one wife. I'm sorry to keep banging on about this, but it's a Pooch would, yeah, but you're a pervert. A strange... but you've got these cultural differences, haven't you? Because, you know, Pooch is very much a European when it comes to these matters. And what we should do, actually, is get you sitting next to me and we can interview you one day, you know, to do, you know, maybe get a plonk of the week or something and get the truth. The Pooch truth. That's what we need to know. Coming up, my meltdown on Dan Wootton coming shortly. Also, the Bishop will be here as well, Kai Dewar, and we're going to talk to Simon Calvert about some religious matters as well. Get a bit religious this show in the final hour. But first, more news and views from Fiona MacLeod in the red dress.
Morning all, I'm Fiona MacLeod. Eddie has taken a break today. He's gone to Stratford-upon-Avon to brush up on the Bard. I love it when he does poetry. Britain's been absolutely roasting under a record-breaking May heatwave. 35 degrees Celsius in London, smashing all-time highs. Meanwhile, a major report drops revealing there's 1 million young people not in education, employment or training, heading towards 1.25 million and costing £125 billion a year. In politics, Keir Starmer's still fending off Tony Blair's latest helpful intervention, abandon net zero, cozy up to Trump, while Nigel Farage and Reform keep gaining ground. Phones are allegedly being hacked by Russians, and the Housing Ombudsman warns of simmering anger over terrible living conditions. That's your news. See you later, alligators.
We also need the one that's in planks for, which is the candidate herself. Sorry to be doing this in front of you, but this is what we do, right? Show production. No, it's already. I can see it there, right? It's in there. If you look in the, sorry about this, guys. If you look in the plank clips, it's the. Where are we? Yeah, number 3. So number 1 and number 3 is what you need. Okay, got it? Cool. So now we can do Mike's meltdown. So, Dan Wootton. When I lost my job, for whatever reason, back at the end of November last year, I decided I wanted to do an interview to tell my side of the story. And I gave that interview to Dan Wootton because I thought he's the guy who will understand, having been through what he went through at GB News, he will understand what I went through at Talk, and he would understand that I would be able to tell my side of the story. He would be able to ask me as many questions as he liked. And, you know, he and I have known each other a long time. And I was very happy to do that. And ever since then, he and I have cooperated on various things. He appeared as a guest on Plank of the Week not that long ago. I've been on his show a couple of times. I was on it just last month, I think. In fact, I got a parking ticket for my troubles when I went and parked up near his studio in North London. So I was a bit surprised when I found out yesterday that Dan Wootton had a bit of a go at me. And not just at me, but at Emma Wolfe as well. Because Emma was here on Monday morning, and we were talking about the by-election up in Makerfield, right? And we were talking about the Restore candidate, a woman who has been chosen by Rupert Lowe to represent the wonderful new right-wing party that is going to threaten reform, supposedly, right? So have a look, first of all, at what Dan Wootton had to say on his show about me just the other night.
Now, two people who I usually like and respect a lot, Mike Graham and Emma Wolfe, actually used that interview that I have just played you to, I think, be incredibly elitist and compared Rebecca to Rebecca Vardy and Colleen Rooney. Watch.
I mean, I'm sorry.
Not much needs to be said.
I mean, I wouldn't put that out.
I was going to say, that speaks for itself, but it really doesn't say anything.
No.
She reminds me of sort of Rebecca Vardy stroke Colleen Rooney running for office.
Yes. I can't do anything now because I'm doing this. Okay, then. I can't tell you about the policy.
I've read the report, but it's quite in-depth.
Yeah, it's quite in-depth. I can't tell you which policy paper I read. It was on Facebook. Right. Listen, it's not for me to be disparaging about local MPs, but it just seems to me that that is not somebody that you would vote for.
I mean, were they watching the same interview that I was? And unfortunately, what we're seeing is a reform meltdown. And as the temperatures have risen to record levels here in the United Kingdom, so has the total fiery displays turning on Restore Britain.
I mean, come on, Dan. Nobody's turning on Restore Britain, okay? And first of all, when he says, were they watching the same interview that I was watching? No. And this is where it gets interesting, right? Because what Dan Wootton played was a completely different clip from the interview, which we didn't play because we were commenting on this clip. Have a look at this.
The first thing that got you into all of this was the policy paper that you read. Do you remember which policy paper it was?
I don't now. It just popped up on Facebook. Good old Facebook. Yeah, it just popped up on there and I just was like, yes, this is what we need. This is what the British people need. And anyone who lives here, we just need to put ourselves first for once,
And I get there.
Yeah. No, I don't remember what paper I read, which got me into Restore, whatever it is. Yeah, but it's on Facebook. So that was the interview we based our assessment on, right? The reason that Emma Wolf and I said you wouldn't really put her up as a candidate was because she looks like an idiot in that clip, right? Now, he played a different clip in which she sounded a little bit more kind of thoughtful and she sounded a little bit more considered and she sounded like she knew perhaps a little bit more about what she was talking about. But in the clip that we played, she didn't at all, right? So it's nothing to do with being elitist. It's nothing to do with being in any way anti-Restore. It's called journalism, Dan. It's called basically being neutral, right? Dan claims that he's neutral, but he's not neutral. He hates reform. He loves Restore. He wants Rupert Lowe to be the next Prime Minister. He makes no secret of it. And he's very welcome to have that view. I don't have a problem with it. But please, do not refer to me as a member of the elite, because I'm not. Do not refer to Emma Wolf as being a member of the elite, because she's not either. And what we do here on a daily basis is we bring you the news, which is the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth. So, Dan Wootton, as much as I admire you, as much as I love your show, as much as I enjoy watching it, on this one, you're completely and utterly bloody wrong and completely and utterly deluded. I'm not a member of the elite, and neither are you, and neither is Rupert Lowe. But if any one of those three names is close to the elite, it would be Rupert Lowe, a man who has been born into privilege, a man who has done nothing but make fortunes of money all of his career, right? And he's chosen a woman to run in a by-election who can't remember where she got interested in politics from. So I don't think she's a very good choice. We'll see. He thinks she's going to win. I don't. Some people think Labour are going to win. We had William Clouston on today who said he thinks Labour are going to walk it, which might well be true. Bottom line, watch Dan Wootton's show, watch my show, and you choose which one of us is a member of the elite. And I can tell you this, it won't be me. See you later. So, there we are. Right, what have we got now? We've got Simon Calvert, haven't we? Simon Calvert, as far as I'm aware, it has not been on this show before, I don't think. But he's going to talk to us about a story that's been developing about over in Ireland, I think it is, about the situation regarding a particular preacher. Have we got? I think we've got a clip, haven't we? Have we got a clip? I'm just trying to find. I've got so many WhatsApp groups going on here. I'm literally losing the plot. I'm losing the will to live. I can't.
And what we are seeing is a politicised ideology that is systemically rife and infested our legal system, our political system, our education system, and our police system. When we have police cars with pride flags on it, which is a politicised movement, we know that the police, who are supposed to be impartial, are often anything but. They are driven by an ideology, a Marxist, cultural Marxist ideology that is not right, that is not good, and it's against you. And we're seeing two-tier policing, we're seeing two-tier justice, two-tier politics, and the people of Britain have had enough of it, and we're getting tired of it. And what we saw last year when Henry Nowak died, stabbed, and was handcuffed because he was deemed a racist is utterly repugnant.
I'm told that's the wrong clip.
How many WhatsApp groups have you got, Mike?
About 10.
Yeah.
I've got 10 WhatsApp groups, right? I've got so many different versions of events. I don't know what I'm doing. I literally don't know what I'm doing. But how about this, right? This is the story that I've got. A British pastor backed by the White House is appealing against his conviction for praying near an abortion clinic. Clive Johnson, 77-year-old pastor from Strabane in Northern Ireland, was accused of breaching buffer zone laws by carrying out a sermon in the vicinity of the Causeway Hospital in Londonderry in July 2024. So I think that's what Simon's going to talk to us about. Simon, very good morning to you.
Good morning.
Is that what you're going to talk to us about this guy in Ireland?
Yes, it is. Yes.
Excellent.
So, yeah, the story is.
I got a bit confused there because we've got too many clips of too many pastors. It has to be said. So anyway, tell us about.
Is that right?
Tell us about Clive Johnson and what's going on.
So Clive Johnston, he's 78. He's a retired pastor. He used to be the president of the Irish Baptist Association. He held an open air service outside Causeway Hospital in Coleraine. And he has been prosecuted and convicted for breaching abortion buffer zone legislation. Now, that legislation is meant to be, we were told, about stopping women being harassed on their way to abortion clinics.
Yes.
But Clive has never been accused of harassing anybody. In fact, there's no evidence that any woman going for an abortion saw or heard anything that he did. In fact, the open-air service he held was on a Sunday. Right. When he understood that the clinic was closed. Sunday's a normal day for church services. And I can't emphasize this enough. He didn't say a single solitary syllable about abortion. There were no placards. There was no hidden messages. He just, I don't know if you went to Sunday school, Mike, but there's a very famous Bible verse. You've seen it at sporting venues, John 3:16, which says, "For God so loved the world that he gave his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him should not perish but have everlasting life." That's his message.
Right.
But yet the police and prosecutors and now the lower court have decided that is a breach of abortion buffer zone legislation.
Right. So is there argument that he was in the wrong place saying what he said, or is there argument that he shouldn't be saying what he said in any place?
Yeah, excellent question. Wrong place is what they're saying. But wait, there are 8 of these all across Northern Ireland and, of course, many more across the rest of the UK. And if we decide that a law designed to stop abortion protest can stop other kinds of speech, then, well, what other kinds of speech? Is it just the Christian message?
Yeah.
And I mean, you have one of these buffer zones, for example, in the centre of Belfast. So it covers pedestrian streets where street preachers are well used to being able to speak and address members of the public. Are they going to start enforcing the buffer zone legislation against them? I mean, I hope not, but you can see why we'd be concerned and why, whatever view you take about the Christian faith, whatever view you take about the issue of abortion, if you care about free speech, you should be worried about the state taking a law designed to stop one particular kind of speech. And by the way, I'm not in favour of those laws in the first place, but they're taking a law designed to stop this and they're using it to stop something very different. I think everyone should be concerned about that.
Yeah. And as far as the circumstances go, were the police alerted to his presence? Did somebody complain about it? Is that why they were there?
So he contacted them in advance.
Right.
So he had communication with the police in the weeks running up to this Sunday service, this open air service. So they knew he was going to be there. They knew he was going to be there. So there was a complaint from somebody in the hospital, and there was a complaint from somebody driving by in his car who saw them and didn't think they should be there. But that guy gave evidence in court, and actually his evidence rather fell apart because he couldn't remember which thing he'd seen on which day. But just to be clear, there was no complaints from any women who were going into the hospital on that day. There was no suggestion, as I say, that any woman going to the abortion facilities in that hospital heard or saw anything that Clive said or did. And that's one of the strange things about this ruling. So he was convicted of being reckless about whether he was influencing a person accessing the hospital.
Yeah.
Without any evidence that any person accessing the hospital heard him or saw him, and without any evidence that his message had anything to do with accessing abortion. I mean, look, these are bad laws. I don't agree with laws in principle. I also think the laws are very badly drafted. But whether you agree with me about those two propositions or not, I still think that everybody should be concerned about this bizarre over-application of the law.
Yes, no, I'm totally with you. I think that the reason I asked about whether somebody complained was just I'm sort of interested in the process, if you like, because I don't think in many cases the police understand the law, because I've known of cases where police have stopped people from saying things on the streets, for example, at pro-Palestinian marches, where they've gone up to people holding up, Hamas terrorists placards and said, well, you can't do that here. And you go, well, why not? It's a perfectly rational thing to say. It's a perfectly true thing to say. But, it might cause a breach of the peace. Well, yeah, but that's not your job. Your job is not to remove people from a place where they're offering an opinion on something. As long as it's not going to cause a breach of the peace, actually, for somebody to say they don't like it, well, tough, sorry you don't like it, but, people have got the right to say what they want to say. And I just wonder whether the police, because it's quite a complex legal issue, this, I imagine. I imagine the police probably are not the best experts at telling you what you can and can't say, because they probably don't know.
I mean, I wish we had been able to play the video of Clive's open air service, because what you would see there is how far away he is from the hospital. But what you'd also see there is he's a very gentle, avuncular kind of figure. The police, to be fair to them, are perfectly civilized with him, but he's incredibly sort of friendly towards them. After they tell him that he's going to be prosecuted, he shakes their hand. But one of the things that one of these police officers says to Clive Johnston is, he says, I know you're not saying anything about abortion, but somebody might see you and think that you're talking about abortion. That was the police officer on site. That kind of, and you think, well, how has that officer been trained? In order to think that that's an appropriate way to police a clear example of free speech, an example of religious free speech. Why does he think that he can speak like that to this man and take what really is a rather, let's say jaundiced sort of view of religious speech, that people might think you mean something bad by, even though you haven't said anything bad?
Yes, and they also think that, like in many cases that we see them now sort of administrating, if you like, they worry more about those people who might be offended by something without realising that actually, well, nobody really is offended, and they're going, yeah, but it might offend that person over there, and then you wave at that person over there and go, are you okay? And they go, yeah, I'm fine. And the police go, well, we're still going to arrest you. I mean, it's kind of insane, isn't it?
Yeah, and I mean, to be clear, as I've said, I think the law, I don't agree with the laws in principle. I also think the laws are very badly drafted and that they could have been better drafted. But we do think that the court has got the application of the law wrong in this case, which is why the Christian Institute is backing Clive Johnston in his appeal. He's taking the matter to the Court of Appeal, and we're quite confident that eventually, and especially if you as the courts are obliged to do currently, look at this case through the lens of human rights, his Article 10 right to freedom of speech, his Article 9 right to freedom of religion. I think that eventually the courts will come down in his favour and say that this is not a breach of the abortion buffer zone legislation.
Yeah, indeed. Well, it's an interesting area and one that obviously you need to keep an eye on, I guess, Simon. Thank you very much indeed for talking to us. And sorry we couldn't get the right clip. We'll see if we can find it at some point. But there's a lot of clips flying around today. But thank you. Simon Calvert there from the Christian Institute. It is mad, isn't it? That and whatever your view is, and you know, I don't want to sound too weird, but it's hard to, you know, when you make these statements. You know, I believe in the woman's right to choose. I do. I think if you know a woman wants to have an abortion, she should be allowed to have one. Obviously within certain regulations and within certain rules. I don't like the idea that they've now passed a law in this country which allows for a woman to have an abortion right up to the term of the actual pregnancy at 9 months. That's wrong, in my view. But I think the previous rule, which I think used to be 16 weeks, was fine. I didn't think it needs to be changed. But I'd rather that than to have it banned altogether. And we can have an argument about that for another day, I guess. Coming up, though, we're going to be talking to Bishop Kai Dewar, who is, of course, our favourite bishop. He is the official bishop of this show, the Mike Graham Show. A couple of super chats, I think, before that. Let's have a look. Elena's got them here for us. Loyal says this: Morning, Mike. July 1808, London had a heat wave where temperatures reached 38 degrees. Must have been all the cars and planes from the airports. Hold on. 1808. Well, this is the other thing, right? When they talk about, you know, these are the hottest days since records began. Well, records didn't begin very long ago. So you don't even know. Imagine if it was, you know, 28 degrees on, July the 4th, 1066 or something. They wouldn't know that because nobody kept a record of it and they didn't measure it. Jim Dale would know, yeah, because he's a top man. That was great fun yesterday, actually. I watched that last night. I watched it back. Yeah, in fact, I'm going to put it out again because Jim Dale, a lot of people said his nose is a bit of a worry, you know, because he's a hooter. Could be, I mean, totally, like streets of San Francisco, you can hide under it when it's raining. Maybe that's a good thing for the old climate situation. But anyway, should we do a bit more, before we go to the Bish, shall we not have the lovely, who's the newsreader in the red dress, Fiona McLeod? Let's have it.
Good morning all, I'm Fiona McLeod. Eddie has taken a break today. He's gone to Stratford-upon-Avon to brush up on the Bard. I love it when he does poetry. Britain's been absolutely roasting under a record-breaking May heatwave. 35 degrees Celsius in London, smashing all-time highs. Meanwhile, a major report drops revealing there's 1 million young people not in education, employment or training, heading towards 1.25 million and costing £125 billion a year. In politics, Keir Starmer's still fending off Tony Blair's latest helpful intervention, abandon net zero, cozy up to Trump, while Nigel Farage and Reform keep gaining ground. Phones are allegedly being hacked by Russians, and the Housing Ombudsman warns of simmering anger over terrible living conditions. That's your news. See you later.
See you later indeed. Maybe a drink after work with Fiona. I mean, I would have a drink with her after work, in a professional basis only, obviously. Anyway, it's time. 9:33, Friday. What date is it? It's the 29th of May. Do you know, it's going to be June.
And we've done 100 shows.
Oh, yes. Yeah, but you mentioned this morning. We've done 100 shows. Isn't that great? It's another milestone. We've got 23.5 million views now, 164,000 subscribers. Please do like and subscribe to the channel, because the more likes and the more subscriptions, the better. It doesn't cost you any money. Also, coming next week, we'll announce it sort of more officially, properly. We're going to be able to give you the opportunity to watch our live show at Shepherd's Bush Empire, which was filmed by a very, very expert group of crew who have captured every moment for you to enjoy if you weren't able to make it. And if you were able to make it, you might want to get it as well. And if you want to get, I think it's free access to that. Join our Substack, which is themikegrahamshow.com. And of course, you can become a YouTube member. And that's not anything other than, I mean, it will cost you, I think, a few quid to be $4.99 a month to be a YouTube member, and you get a few, special shows. 100 shows today. Fantastic, says Simon. Yeah, brilliant. It is amazing, isn't it? I mean, it doesn't feel like that. Although, Pooch has convinced me to go away. You are. And I'm going away at the end of next week. And I woke up this morning and I had that thing where you go, I'm just going to put the phone on snooze, and I was like, it's never the case that I don't want to come to work, but I just didn't want to get up, and I'm quite looking forward to the weekend, and I'm really looking for, Yeah, it's going to be Russell Quirk, right? Russell Quirk, who has been, he's spent his whole life training to be me, and now he's going to be me. So he'll be very happy with that. Congratulations on 100 shows. Thank you. Keeley, thank you. Brilliant show. Yeah. Listen, it's been a fantastic journey, and we've only just begun. Yeah. We've only just started, because we're about to launch ourselves as UK Live. The new channel is going to be fantastic, and that's going to once I'm back, we'll we'll kick it into proper, so we will have for you not just my show, but we will have Russell Quirk doing a show. We'll have other people doing shows as well. So you'll be able to watch the Home of Common Sense, the real Home of Common Sense, pretty much for several hours of the day, which will be brilliant. Because I know a lot of people say, once your show's finished, Mike, what do we do then? We have to go watch other stuff, which we don't really like. So you won't have to do that anymore. You can stay right here and you can watch and enjoy the commonsensical world in which we live. And yeah, well done, Mike. I've not missed one show. Hannah, brilliant, fantastic. 100 shows, imagine that. And I'm delighted to say that who better to celebrate the 100 shows with than the Bish. He is, of course, Kai Dewar. He's our favourite bishop. He is our official bishop. And he is very much part of the Mike Graham Show family. And we could not do without him, quite frankly. And what better time, Kai, than to have you here this week as we launch ourselves into the UK Live sort of family, and also into the summer months of June. It's been an amazing week. We've had so much beautiful weather. We've managed to stay hydrated despite the best efforts of various Labour MPs telling us that we might die of heartburn or something. But anyway, very good morning to you. How are you?
A very good morning to you. Congratulations on 100 shows. That is a massive milestone.
It is
truly significant, and I am honoured to be part of the Mike Graham Show family. And you're right. What a week it's been.
Yeah.
Many have stayed very hydrated. Some in more enjoyable forms than others, I would imagine. I made the foolish mistake of taking my bike out on Monday night.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah, I left home at 4 o'clock, got back about 6 o'clock, and then spent the next few hours wringing out my jeans and my jacket. It was rather warm.
It was.
But what a glorious week, and I'm glad you're taking a holiday as well. I'm gonna, for the first time since 2003, take a few holiday days.
Yes.
Next week, just to recover, because the last few months, like yourself, have been full on.
Absolutely, yeah. And you've also been, fortunate enough, I suppose you might say. You've had tough times. You've been chased, through the streets by the raging mob, the pitchfork brigade, who have tried to, ruin your life, finish you off, and you've escaped them, and you've rallied, and you've come back, and you're now hopefully in a place where you can rebuild everything from, right?
Oh, 100%. And the thing is this, what they've sadly mistaken is that they took me for someone that actually cares about what they think and cares about their opinions. And they find it very wrong. In fact, I've quite often not offered them my phone so they can ring someone that actually gives a toss about what they think.
Very well said. Yeah. No, it's true.
Yeah,
I mean, I'm the
we're
same. I'm the
rebuilding.
same. Because again, there were people who were, dancing on my grave, hoping that I'd never be seen again. Wishing my demise would come sooner rather than later. And that's not what we do. Not in my family. Not in any way, shape, or form.
No, same with me. Now, I have a confession to make this morning, Father.
Go on.
So, I used to do, I still do stuff on Talk for Mark and Alex and Ian's show. And the entire time that I began, there was one show I always wanted to be on and never got the break because I never managed to get on the Mike Graham show when he was on Talk TV. And now look, here we are, and I get to do what I do with one of my favorite human beings. And I'm just, this is proof that no matter what you face in life, no matter how desperate times are, no matter how difficult a thing that you go through, there is always the opportunity to rebuild. And like you're seeing with the show, you don't just rebuild, you come back bigger, better, stronger, bolder, badder than ever before.
Yeah, completely. And it's actually it's sort of uplifting in a way. And I wouldn't call myself a religious person, but I'm, talking to you and listening to what you've said over time, there are definitely, I would say, rustlings in the nether regions that I think somebody's up there looking out for me in a way. That there is something to be said for that,
Well, I'm looking forward to the day that you and I have the kind of conversations we can have offline.
Yes.
And talk about that further. But yes, there is, we do serve a loving, faithful God that watches over his people. That I've been through many difficult situations in my life, some far worse than others. But it is that strength of faith that I found in Christ that has always given me the tenacity and the endurance to press on and to rebuild no matter what. My grandfather used to say this, and it's something that's kept me going through life because he was a devout Christian. And I can remember it from me as young an age as 7 or 8 years old, where he used to say, son, you will fall in life many times, but always fall to your knees, always fall forward, and never stay down for long.
Yeah. That's
and
great.
that served me well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I mean, my father used to say something which has resonated with me for most of my life, which he was quite an amusing, he was a Scots, a Glaswegian, very, very sharp-tongued individual. And he said, do first as others, as what was it? Do first to others as they would do to others as they would do to you, but do it first.
That's it. Yeah.
So that was the bit that was added at the end. It was kind of like to have a little sharpness to it and have a little because I'm like you. I suspect I'm not easily roused, but once I am. If somebody's pissed me off or somebody's done something to me that I'm going to take them out, I'm going to do it. I'm not going to stand on ceremony. But I'll be very meek and mild most of the time. But if somebody comes after me, then you better be ready. It's like they say in the mafia movies. You better kill me because I'm going to get back up again and kill you.
Well, I tell them all, you better be careful because I'm going to get my dad onto you. And then heaven help you. So
exactly right. Anyway, so as ever on a Friday, I don't know if there's anything specific coming up this weekend. It's not a bank holiday weekend as it was last weekend, but hopefully you've got a sermon for us prepared for which we will play out on Sunday, which people love. They look forward to it massively, by the way, and you've got quite a following. So do give us your blessing this week.
Thank you very much, Mike. Well, my brothers and sisters, the scriptures appointed for today in the lectionary draw our attention away from the noise of the age and back to the thing that we miss, the voice of God. In those readings, if you dare to look through them, we will hear again a truth that every generation must learn for itself, that our ultimate security is not found in human strength or political power or economic success or cultural influence, but it is in the Lord who calls, who sustains, and this same Lord who redeems his people. The prophet reminds us that God's ways are higher than our ways. The psalmist teaches us to place our trust in the Lord rather than in the princes of this world. And in the Gospels reading, we see Christ calling his disciples not to anxiety about the future, but to faithfulness in the present day. And these, given everything that we've been through in the last few months, these are timely words. For we live in an age marked by uncertainty. Many worry about the future of our nation. Families wonder what lies ahead for their children. Communities, more and more, are feeling divided. And trust can seem very fragile. And in amongst that, the temptation is to become consumed by fear, by anger, or by despair. And yet, the Word of God consistently points us in another direction. Again and again, Scripture reminds us that the deepest questions facing any society are not merely political or economic, they are spiritual. What is it that we worship? Where do we place our trust? What kind of people are we becoming? Throughout the Bible, God's people faced moments of upheaval and uncertainty. Israel as a people knew exile. The early church knew overwhelming persecution. The apostles preached the gospel in a world that often seemed hostile to their message and what they were saying. And yet, like so many, they endured because their hope rested not in circumstances, but it rested in God. That same hope is offered to us today. The Christian faith has never promised an easy path. Our Lord himself spoke of trials and tribulations. He carried the cross before he wore the crown of heaven. But the gospel also proclaims that suffering is not the end of the story. You see, my brothers, my sisters, the tomb was real. I've been there. I've seen it. The cross was real. The grief of Good Friday, that was also real. But, my brothers, my sisters, so too was the resurrection. And because Christ is risen, Christians can face the uncertainties of every age with overwhelming confidence. Now, I have to be clear. That's not confidence in ourselves, and that is not confidence in our earthly institutions. It is the confidence that we find in the living God. The readings today call us, therefore, to that faithfulness I mentioned a few moments ago. It calls us to prayer rather than to panic. It calls us to charity rather than bitterness, to repentance rather than self-righteousness, to hope rather than cynicism. You see, my brothers, my sisters, renewal begins where it has always begun, in hearts and lives turned towards God. You see, when we seek first the kingdom of God, our priorities are reordered. When we listen to his word, wisdom grows. When we love our neighbors, our communities are strengthened. And when we forgive, as we have been forgiven, divisions begin to heal. When we worship faithfully, we remember who we are, and more importantly, whose we are. The great need of every generation is not simply better policies or better circumstances, important those things may be. The great need is always a renewed awareness of God's presence and a renewed commitment to walk in his ways. For we are not created merely to pursue comfort or success. We were made for communion with God. We, you and I, we were made to know Christ. You see, my brothers, my sisters, We were made for eternity. So, whatever burdens you carry today, whatever concerns you have for your family, your community, or our nation, I urge you, earnestly and sincerely, bring them before the Lord. Trust in His providence, rest in His promises, and remember the words that we find in Scripture. Those who hope in the Lord shall renew their strength. This day, as always, may God grant us wisdom to hear His voice, courage to follow where He leads, and faith to trust Him in all things. And may the blessing of Almighty God be upon us and upon this nation and upon all who seek His truth and His mercy. My brothers, my sisters, God bless you.
Amen. Brilliant. As ever, Bish, great to see you. Have a fantastic weekend. And
you.
We will see you soon, I'm sure, in this place. I don't want to say this place or the next. It sounds a bit final, but you know what I mean. Good to see you. Kai Dewar, fantastic man, great bishop, our bishop, of course, and very much our official leader of our kind of what you might call spiritual world, I suppose. Oh.
Does he have special bishop pajamas?
That's a good question.
Yeah.
Are you still there, Bish?
No, he's gone.
He's gone. You would have, wouldn't you?
You would, got to.
You'd have to have some kind of God-related attire. Yeah, definitely. Yeah, also, the other thing I'd like to ask him, and maybe remind me next week, is the purple. I know it's, because I used to be an altar boy, right, in the Catholic Church, and there were different robes that the priests would wear, and you'd have to lay them out for them, and different, holidays and Pentecost and all the rest of it. But the purple, rather than the black, as a kind of a shirt with the dog collar, I'm interested in why that is. Why you would get a sort of it's almost like a royal purple, which is quite cool. But I'll tell you what we're going to do. What's that? Why? Here we go. Historical connection. Oh, a symbol of their high spiritual authority, but also to represent penitence, humility, and the passion of Christ. Oh, right. Historical connection. Oh, purple, yeah.
Very expensive.
That's why. Ah, okay. Wow. Ancient times, purple dye was incredibly rare and expensive to produce. Only kings, emperors, and the extremely wealthy could afford it. My mother loved purple. It was her favourite colour.
Good colour.
She used to have, and she had a book. I don't know if you've seen it. You might have seen it. It was one of these books that was written, and I think it was written in verse. But the book was, "When I'm old, I will wear purple." And it was all about, an older woman who just was like, you know what? I don't give a shit anymore, and I'm just going to wear purple. And it was great, and it was totally my mother. It was all, it was something like that. I'm sure somebody can remember. Pauline says, the Bish has such a soothing influence. He does. His voice is so mellifluous, which is a great word. You hear it, and you just it puts you into a kind of a slight trance. Jennifer says, your show started on my 75th birthday on the 5th of January. Congrats on 100 shows. Well done, Jennifer. Thank you very much. Can't imagine Mike as an altar boy. He'd probably steal the candlesticks, says Chris. You're not far wrong, actually, there. I was only young, and I did, but you know what was funny was that I did it in Hampstead, which was obviously quite a wealthy constituency, if you like. And it was the Catholic Church in Hampstead, and a lot of Americans used to come and get married there. And I soon worked out that if you stand at the back of the church as they're all going out, they hand you envelopes full of money, which was brilliant. So I used to make sort of 40 or 50 quid on a good day.
You're in the choir, you've got a good voice.
No, there was no choir. I was just an altar boy. But I did have. We did high mass. We did Latin mass. I had a thurible where you put incense in it and burned it. I once spilt one of the charcoals out and burnt the parquet flooring. But yeah, no. Listen, it was a great. But it was a terrible. In a way, for me, I don't know whether I'm turning this into too much of a confession, but the confession box was what did for me in the Catholic Church, because I worked out at a very early age that basically you could do anything and they would forgive you. And you'd go into the confessional and say, bless me, Father, for I have sinned. It's been 2 weeks since my last confession. I have been guilty of, criminal activity, murder, stealing. I've stolen, I've told lies, all of this. And And they'd go, do 2 Hail Marys and we'll see you next week. And I went, this is great. I get to basically do anything. So it kind of ruined me for the rest of my life, really. The sermon today was one of the best of Bishop Kai Dewars. I might decide to go back to church, says Simon. Good for you. I think he's really uplifting. Maybe there's a show for you. Confession Friday.
Let's do it.
Hey?
Let's do it.
We could do that. Phone-in show. You ring in and you confess.
To the bishop.
To the bishop. Yeah. Look at this. See? This is what we can do. This is what we can do literally in 5 seconds of just a bit of inspiration.
And it will happen.
And we can make it happen. Like, not next week, but when I'm back from holiday, we are going to have so much fun. That's a great idea. I love it. Let's write it because we'll forget.
Yeah,
right? Let's write it down.
Elena's young, she'll remember.
Elena will remember, yeah. But listen, this is why it's fantastic. Now, so that you don't think that we forget some of the other things we've done. Yesterday, Jim Dale, a guy that I detest, right, and have banned from my show for years, was on the show. I was persuaded by Charlotte and Pooch to put him on to talk rubbish about climate change, right? But we had him on with a guy called Paul Burgess, who's actually quite a well-informed academic. Let's just have a look at what happened. People do things that are stupid and they get killed.
Stupid when you reach temperatures that are silly and that they are extreme, as was that. Look, the graphs are very obvious in terms of where we're going with this, and the reason for net zero is obvious in the same way. If we carry on with this situation, we are going to be in terrible trouble going forward. And by the way, not just us in isolation. Net zero isn't just about us. There are countries that have already reached net zero. I think there's about 5 of them.
Which countries have reached net zero?
Well, I think Belize is one of them. There are others. You can look it up. You can look it up.
No, you tell me. You're the expert, Jim. You tell me.
Oh, okay, so he wants to argue about...
You said there are 5 countries, right? So what 5 countries have reached net zero? Tell me.
I can't remember them all.
You can't remember them? There's only 5.
I'm pretty sure Belize is one of them.
There's only 5?
Yeah, I think there's 5 of them.
You can't remember any of them?
Already reached. Suriname may well be another. It's just top of my head. But look, yeah, just bear with me. I think we're all on cue at the moment with AI, are we not? And what that is bringing to a changed world and how we approach that changed world.
AI is surely bad for net zero, though, isn't it? Because you need so much electricity to power it, and all the water that you need to cool the computers, right?
While it's in its infancy, let me quote something to you, because it's a very simple one to ask the question: is climate change real? Is man-made climate change real? So I'll quote: yes, human-made anthropogenic climate change is definitively real.
Who's telling you that? Are you quoting? You're not quoting AI at me, are you?
I'm quoting AI.
Oh, come off it.
The global scientific community has reached a consensus backed by the assessments from the NASA.
No, I'm not having it. No, I'm not having AI. Because AI isn't real. Paul, would you mind answering this? Give us.
Yes, I will. I'll answer it very clearly. Let me explain something. You'll always find the peak temperatures at Heathrow. Heathrow is just off the runway there. It's on the northern runway, and it's just off there. Now, what we have in Heathrow is an urban heat island effect because of all the tarmac and all the buildings, etc., which elevate the temperature. I mean, even the Met Office agree that in central London you can get temperatures up to 7-8 degrees higher than the countryside. Yeah, that's one factor. Now, I've been in charge of a whole country's meteorological stations. I know what I'm talking about on this. And please let me finish. I'll let you finish. So please let me finish. Let me explain what you've got to do with the temperature gauge. First of all, you've got to look at its location, and therefore you've got to look at the urban heat island effect. Yeah. So, you've got all that tarmac, all those buildings, and that heats it up even overnight. The effect is even bigger overnight, but it starts the day much warmer. So you get these peaks. But why is it that every time we have a record, it's always at an airfield? Because of the urban heat island effect. Let me finish, please. I didn't interrupt you. Please don't interrupt me. Right? I'll just take you back, by the way. Let's look at his record here, or the record that he's claiming. 1947, we had, allowing for the urban heat island, in a place called Waddington in 1947, we had a record temperature, which actually could have been higher than this week's, right, in the May period. But let me take you to another period. In 1976, I was water resource engineer for the whole of Wales. Now, my work involved in hydroclimatology, etc., has been dedicated to extreme weather. It's been dedicated to floods and droughts. By the way, the worst droughts were all historical. The worst one on records in the 1700s, and all of them rank back from that to today. So today is as nothing compared to the past. But in 1976, we had record temperatures for a long, long time. And actually, if you take the June temperatures now...
I mean, it goes on, but it's a great clip. So I fully recommend you going to our YouTube channel to check it out and see it there. We should be now coming to the end of the show. It's 9:59. We've got a Pooch's Pooch, I think, to do, if we have. Let's get on. Olivia says, you're very mean about Jim Dale's nose. Yeah, well, you know, you should see some of the things he said about me in the past. Yeah, exactly. What was that song he used to sing? Yeah. Schnozzle. Was it Schnozzle? Anyway, Anyway, look, here's Pooch's Pooch. This is good.
Ladies and gentlemen, back by popular demand is the Rivigans race. Race 11. Under starters blocks, camera in position, and off we go, running through the grass like velociraptors, up towards the gate. It's a close call, F1's neck and neck. Little Columbolos at the front, followed by Quincy, followed by Mouse. Coming into the side, there's Doug, through the chicane. Gently as we go, past the trees, past the open barn at the top. A couple of riders at the back, slacking already. Looks like a couple of riders haven't even bothered to do it. Round the corner, through the new gate. Dana at the front, Colombo. There's a couple of dummies to find. Searching away. Good drone work. Well done, James. Here we go. Oh, look, like Dana's got the first dummy. Off she goes. She could be an easy winner. No, she's going to stop and tell everyone that she's got a dummy and make her chase her. Mouse has come past with another dummy. So we've got neck and neck. We've got Mouse and we've got Dana. Here they go. Dana's overtaken. Mouse looks like she's slacking a little. Round the corner. Down towards the home straight. Watch out for the pylons with the drone. Oh, it looks like there's a drop dummy. Here we go. Dana's got a clear lead. Through the gates, into the Velociraptor field. Couple of lazy dogs at the back here to avoid. Dana looks like a clear winner. Well done, Dana. It's her first win for some time. Her brother, clearly not even in the picture. Colombo still looking for dummies. Poor chap. And the winner is Dana. Well done, Dana. And she comes into position. We often get asked if all the dogs come back or I have to go and get them. But you can clearly see they all come back. Especially when I do my Jesus impression. There I go. Here they come. Little whistle as well.
They all come
back. Lovely.
We need to spend some time with these dogs, you know. I don't know how we do it, but we're going to figure it out because I think I just give everything else up, right? Totally. Women, you know, drink, just hang out with the dogs. Be great. Anyway, that's it, right? I don't think we've got Heron of the Day or anything, have we? No. So,
have got Heron of the Day.
Have you got Heron of the Day?
I think so.
Oh, there you go. Heron of the Day. Lily Ponds in Pembroke. There we are. Very nice. That's from Alison Dennis on Facebook, I think. Funnily enough, my sister sent me a heron. In fact, I'll put it. We'll do it for next week. In Connecticut, they've got some standalone heron sort of models on the green in Guildford, in Connecticut, where she lives. So anyway, what freedom those dogs have, says Seaside Babe. Yeah, listen, another great week. 100 shows, 23.5 million views, 164,000 subscribers. We're going places, ladies and gentlemen, and I couldn't be more happy. And thank you to all of you for watching. Thank you for listening. Thank you for signing up to our Substack. Thank you for subscribing. Please carry on and do that. Pass it on to somebody else as well. Get them to do it. We'll be back, obviously, tonight at 7 with Plank of the Week. Tomorrow night, Plonk of the Week coming as well. And then back on Monday morning, 7 a.m. Sharp, hopefully. We'll be back. We weren't so good this week. We were late every day, pretty much, because Pooch was a bit out of practice. But anyway, have a lovely weekend. And remember, drink plenty of water.
Why don't you relax and be a bit more MG? That would be a triumph.